Hello there,
What's up?
my friends. Welcome to another episode of The Noise Floor. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah,
And yeah, I don't know if we're bringing it back, but we just felt we should do a live stream this weekend. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to talk about some things. So
ideally, we're going to talk about some things. We'll see
yeah,
how it actually shakes out.
yeah. Um, Griffin, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back on stream. As you've already alluded to, we haven't done this in flipping forever. Uh,
Flipping forever.
so yeah, definitely glad to be back. Glad to be here with the friends.
Yeah.
How about you?
Uh, what's the question?
How are you doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, about the same, about the same. I'm it always feels like there's just endless stuff to do, but getting ready for the trip to the Shenzhen International Audio Show, which should be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Um trying to get everything, sorted beforehand. Um yeah,
Yep.
but it's gonna be my first time going to China, so
Same.
it should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I have
Oh, I'm a little
also
bit
been
quiet.
going through. Sorry, what?
It says I'm a little bit quiet.
Feel free to bump your volume. I mean, ping is auto leveling.
It should be auto leveling, yeah. So, okay. Thank you. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I've been doing the same as far as like just preparing uh, everything for that trip, which is yeah a lot. Especially because it is my first time. I think I'm finally sorted in terms of that, and now I'm just putting the last touches on the Japan part of my trip. But
Right, right.
yeah, China should be fun. I found out last night that that Amir is actually going to uh SIAS in China. So I don't know if you've met him in person before. Um,
No, no, I haven't. I don't care.
Oh, I mean, I wanna meet him. I feel
No,
like part of the reason our disagreements tend to get a little ornery is that we've, like, never met each other in person and talked about stuff, so, I
it
would.
might be. I mean, I would look forward to a conversation with him, but I have a particularly negative opinion of him as a human being, not just the random bullshit that he says online. Like, I think he's a uniquely bad faith kind of person, and for that reason, I'm just not exactly optimistic about good conversations with somebody like that. That's all.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm down to meet the guy. I think it could be fun. Um,
Could be good content at the very least.
well, I doubt he'll wanna be part of that, but,
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah.
but yeah, I found that out last night. I know, I think Mark is going again this
Mhm.
year. I think Corinne, Timmy, I think a few of the other just like people we already know are in Asia will try to show up. But yeah, I'm excited. I did see last night in the thread on ASR where people were talking about it, and Amir mentioned he was going. That it is like a, it's like an audio X cosplay event apparently. So,
Wait,
um,
what? Really?
yeah, yeah, hold on.
Okay.
What does it say? It says audio X cosplay X coffee. So it's almost like a convention made specifically for Tam. Um,
Is
but
Tam going?
Tam is not going, which is a
Uh,
shame.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Tam knows that it's X cosplay X coffee. The
Ah,
coffee would probably get him more interested than the audio or the cosplay, honestly. Um, Joel's asking what I'm cosplaying as. I don't have anything planned.
a
Maybe
treble enjoyer.
maybe I'll cosplay as the protagonist of my new favorite anime. Um, that time I got reincarnated as Joseph Stalin as a child and saved the entirety of Europe.
Some particularly cerebral stuff.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, that's an anime a few of my buddies are working on.
Excellent. By the way, how are the audio levels, guys? doing okay?
Seems
I'm
that
just gonna
way.
I'm just gonna assume we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Nobody cares. Uh, do we have some audio stuff to talk about today? Your topic was
Yeah, was one I just outright stole from Oris in our Discord server.
shout out to Soros.
I say stole, but like he offered it. Like he wanted us
But
to talk
my
about.
understanding is that we're doing this because of Oris.
Yes, yes,
All right,
entirely.
so I hope you're here,
Yeah,
Oris.
he both requested the live stream and gave us the topic to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
But he always requests the live stream, which is funny because I don't think he's actually in chat right now. Uh,
yeah.
so hold on, I'm actually gonna ping
Oh,
him
there he
on
is. There he
Discord.
is.
Oh, is he?
He's here.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
good. All right. Well, yeah. So we have that topic, but I guess before we get into that, is there anything you're thinking about in terms of audio stuff? Just things that have been on your mind, just more kind of free form stream of consciousness. Like, what is on your mind with
What's on
audio
my
right
mind?
now?
um,
Besides like projects you're working on that you can't
yeah,
talk
yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? It's mostly that. I don't know. I think it is actually relevant to this topic that you've posted as sort of the headline topic here. I've noticed there's been quite a bit more pushback against uh, when I put out a video that's positive about a headphone. I've seen quite a bit more sort of people using that as sort of the anti-filter concept, or like, oh, I don't like Resolve's taste, so therefore, if he likes the thing, it's gonna be bad. If he doesn't like the thing, it's gonna be good. Now, there's all kinds of epistemologically weird things about that because there's many, many ways for things to sound bad. Um, but just this concept has arisen, and I've sort of seen that increasingly, um, and not for good reason, right? Like I think some of it is has been well founded. The people have taste that is, maybe they're looking for something that's just very different from what I'm looking for these days, and it's caused me to think a little bit about like how my tastes have evolved over the years. I think a big there's two elements to this, right? One is like what's actually going on with the preference component of it all, and the other is the communication side of it, where it's a little bit more about like how people are engaging with material to understand what someone's preference might be. And I think the latter part is where I assumed there may have been some confusion.
I think it's safe to assume that there
Yeah, yeah,
would.
yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. But the first part is one where I'm more just like kind of examining or thinking about like, okay, definitely the things that I, was into and what I was looking for in experiences, years ago is just so different from what I'm into now that the things that I value today would genuinely make me quite a bit more out of touch with what I think somebody who's getting into this stuff is going to be looking for, right? And the experiences that they find compelling. This is something where, like, I talk to Ryan all the time about like his
Ryan, our
experiences.
COO, for those
Yeah,
who
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know who
yeah,
he
yeah.
is.
Yeah, basically, uh, a fearless leader of this merry band. Let's just say, is also new to this space. My monitor keeps turning off. It's because I put my. It's not important. Uh, and he, I can tell that like the experiences that he finds compelling are ones that there was a time when I found those compelling as well, right? And these days,
It's hard
they're
to
just
relate.
it's hard to relate. Yeah, exactly. So uh, that's that's been on my mind. To the communication side of it, yeah, I mean, I think one of the issues there is that there is this idea of people should try to identify content creators, reviewers who have similar tastes to them, because then this can help calibrate, you know, expectations and purchase decisions, right? And on the surface, that is useful advice, right? Because if you don't understand anything about any of this stuff, but you do understand the general sentiment of what's going on in a review, super useful, right? Super useful. Sorry, I'm just gonna lift this up. There we go. But um, I kind of feel that like a lot of people aren't familiar with my with my actual taste.
Well, I think
Um,
people think they are just because they've been watching you for so long.
yeah, Yeah, but
And
that's my point, is that because it's changed, right, over the
yeah,
years, it's hard to know what they're identifying as, like, my taste. Um, and, like, uh it's funny, the thread I'm referencing, right now, like, specifically is the one that was on Reddit where the person had like, very genuinely different taste from me, right? But it was hard to know that at the time,
I
and,
think I know the
yeah, yeah,
interaction you're
yeah.
talking about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And at first, I had that moment of like the Simpsons meme where it's like, uh, is it no, the people are all wrong, right? Or like, am I actually out of touch? That kind of thing. But then, when I understood, oh, the headphones that this person likes, I was like, yeah, no, I genuinely don't like the ones that you like, and you genuinely don't like the ones don't like the ones that I do. Um, so I think there's something about just yeah, the communication side of it that is a bit nebulous. Because I don't know that. I mean, we do have the ranking lists now, right? Which is a useful way to kind of like get a sense of what each of us kind of prefers with headphones and IEMs. I think it's probably the most like up to date, but there is still an element of like legacy hangover. I think where it's like, oh yeah, that was a great experience I had with this thing. Would I have that same attitude towards that thing today? I don't know that I would.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. The other thing that's been on my mind has been uh, coming across data that is so fucked up, for lack of a better term. I think I sent you the one from Aaron X Loud, where it's the
Oh,
momentum
Jesus,
and
yeah.
I
I
was like,
mean,
what is happening here?
if you wanna see data presented without any coherent methodology, just
Oh my god.
pull up the most recent Aaron X Loud
Oh
video,
my
and
god. But
it'll
that's
set you straight.
it made me realize like so the data being bad is one thing, especially when all the tools are available to make it good. Like he's using good systems now, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
he's using an Ears Pro,
yeah,
and
that's great.
I think the issue is that, I gave him that DF curve, but he didn't know what to do
I,
with it.
oh my
Like,
god, you gave it to him. Okay.
he was supposed to ask
You,
follow-up questions when I
you
gave him that, and he just
oh, it's
didn't.
so it's your fault. I
I
see like
mean, I
I
gave him the appropriate diffuse field. It's just he didn't
uh
use it right. Like,
okay. Cuz I was gonna make a video. I might still make a video cuz it's not I realized Aaron X Loud is like the tip of the iceberg, right? Like it's not actually um if you go to like much larger YouTube like tech channels, it's a much larger problem, right? Because they like for example, the Dave 2D that one was particularly unfortunate with the AirPods Pro 3, I think. Um
no, that one was fine compared to the Aaron stuff.
it was
That
well
one was
compared to
much
the Aaron
better,
stuff, yes, because it was just a comparison, right?
but it's a
Um
lot more people is what
but
you're
it's yeah,
saying?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it's not as bad as the Aaron one, but it's like as far as like what's the mistakes that have been made, but like it's still scrungly enough, and it hits a much wider audience. And so I've been thinking maybe I just need to make a video that's like how to measure headphones, and please share this with people who because the bigger problem is not like I don't blame people for making mistakes because I think it's like you know a
Yeah, we
lot of the
can't know
mistakes are easy.
everything, like, out the
It's easy to
womb.
make these
We
mistakes, right? And
Yeah.
especially when you get the tools that you think this is what it should be doing, right? You plug it in, you run the sweep, and then you get a result, and you think that's what it should be, right? But the more concerning was that if you looked at the comments from Aaron X Loud's comment section, nobody was identifying this. Like nobody
Well,
was
yeah.
identifying the like deep problems with the way that that was being represented. Um, so yeah, I just had this thought of like, well, maybe it's worth making a video on this, and it goes back to kind of the bigger picture, previous like what I was just saying about how like a core part of the problem is um, familiarity with what this stuff is supposed to be. And for that reason, like if you are in that audience and you're getting value from an Aaron X Loud video, and genuinely there is value to be had there, right? Because he's comparing relevant products that you might want to purchase. Um, I can understand somebody being like, "Well, the graph is whatever. I don't care about that. I just care about the sentiment being conveyed here." And and this is why for so many people, especially when they're coming at it without that familiarity with what the graph is supposed to be, the sentiment is the thing that kind of reigns supreme.
Yeah.
Um, and
And I mean,
somebody who is
the graph does have what's the discursive, bolstering effect of making whatever the sentiment is seem more, uh, I don't
Yeah.
know, backed up by something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It gives us a little bit of extra sort of confidence, even if it's something that's just
Yeah, the graph doesn't
totally
need to
not.
be correct. I mean, it just needs to exist and be
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Look, I have a
Yeah.
graph. It
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
say anything relevant, but I have a graph. Um, yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Uh,
Okay. Well, I mean, it seems like you've been
that's
thinking about a lot.
I've been thinking
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
as somebody
first
who's like
Okay.
particularly devoid of um, emotional sentiment and hype, not a particularly sentimental guy. It's hard, it's like I really like this product. I love this product. I feel like I have to be a little bit performative to even come close to the levels of enthusiasm that a lot of folks get to when they're conveying their excitement for products.
Oh, right. So to reach the same emotional dynamic
Just
range of like a normal audio
yeah,
reviewer saying
yeah,
they
yeah,
enjoy a product,
yeah.
you have to overextend yourself and
Exactly,
really
exactly.
reach.
And then
Yeah,
it's
no,
and then it's
I mean, I feel the same way. Like I feel like to uh for some of my reviews where the slant has been very positive, like with the HD 480 Pro, like I felt like even though I glazed the hell out of the thing, I didn't it wasn't nearly as like firmly like this is excellent as I actually felt. Like I felt like there was a disconnect. It could be seen as like I don't know. I felt I didn't hype it as much as I should have. Because I still use that thing like every day.
should
And
we
it's what's that?
I was just asked, should we talk about Mark Ryan's
Oh, we
dunking
can
on
talk
your
about that. I mean, I did, and maybe this will loop back to that, but I did want to touch on the first thing you said, which is about kind of the anti-filter.
Mhm.
Um, I My primary response to that is perhaps irrationally, like to get a little bit upset and a little bit offended that like someone is using me as like the the example of
No, no,
exactly
no, no.
what not to follow.
It's not
Um,
even that. Like I'm a little bit more used to it, I think, because like
well, you've been doing it a
the
lot longer than I have.
well, okay, but so the anti-filter is actually the most like what that guy's comment was like actually very benign and very charitable and very like nice generally.
Yeah,
I
no,
actually
no,
really appreciated
and
that.
in that instance, like
Yeah.
even
Um
so, I think I feel a little bit
oh,
emotional
okay, I
about
see
it.
what you're saying.
That's not the sum total of my feelings about it. It's just like the
Yeah.
first thing that hits me
It's the
is
pang
like,
of like,
ah,
"Aw, I
that's a
didn't help
shame.
this I didn't I didn't
Yeah,
help
yeah,
this person."
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. But I
But
mean, that is still different from somebody using you as like, I'm gonna hate by products." Just he
yeah, yeah,
said
yeah,
that
yeah,
that
sure.
it's
I
not
mean,
good, so I'm going to yeah.
which I have seen.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like immediately after that, like obviously with us knowing what we know, we don't actually let that inhabit us for any more than a few
No.
seconds. And it's then just about okay, how realistic is that as an idea? Like, does one person disliking a headphone really mean if you always dislike headphones the other person's like that the other person likes that
Mhm.
me disliking this headphone will mean you like it, or that me liking this headphone means you will dislike it? I don't really think that's how this works, and I think it's probably pretty hard to explain that to someone because especially if they have a record of like,
Yeah.
everything you like, I dislike, or vice versa. Um,
Dude, I'm not sure if you saw the comment section on Mark Ryan's video, or the
which one?
480 Pro.
Oh,
There wa
mhm.
there was somebody in there basically saying how I only like V-shaped sound signatures and I only like bass and treble in U-shape, and I'm like, "Really? Tell me
Thanks.
more about my preference."
Oh, saying you, like you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
thought he was saying like I, like
No,
speaking the
they
first
were doing
person.
the anti-filter thing again, right? But they were like, "Oh, yeah, like, his taste is terrible. He only likes V-shaped sound signatures," and I'm like, "I'm gonna, like, save this and show this to
Wow,
all the
true,
people."
true and based. No, he's spitting.
No, so, like, this is the thing is, like, it's true. I actually do prefer a little bit of V-shape, as you know, right?
Just not
I
redonkulous.
not Eris levels, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and
So,
like not even Aris levels. Like I feel like there are just so many headphones that are V-shaped but bad. But like
yeah.
some of the best headphones are just V-shaped but good.
Dude,
Um,
I'm so excited for okay, I feel like with the AR 9000 coming
it's
out.
the first thing I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, the MV1 to a certain extent as well, right? I
yeah.
mean,
And the
like
Flow's Tone
this
FR1
trend,
we just got done hyping, and
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This trend of that kind of sloping bass response is just like, finally, we're getting there, you
Ring,
know?
ring, ring. Hello,
Yeah.
Dan Clark.
Okay.
I would like
Okay,
to
okay, okay.
let you know that
Yes.
there is another shape of bass response.
Yes, but
Uh,
actually, I do really like this headphone, and I think for people who found the 480 Pro to be dull,
yeah,
this
that's
is the
got like more treble in the exact places where I like that 480 Pro
Yep,
is darker, like 5K,
yep,
10K. It has
yep,
more in both of those spots.
yep.
So yeah.
Exactly, exactly, yeah.
Um,
So and the bass quality is better on this than the 480 Pro, like, it
I
just
would agree.
straight up.
I think it might be the best bass quality on any of his headphones outside of Stealth, but it's still not like great for me in that
Well,
way.
it's the transition and the
Yeah,
luminous is just
it's the
off.
thing I just complained
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so as far as like the whole anti-filter thing, I I try not to comment on it. One, because my first reaction is emotional, but second, because I feel like it would be really hard to talk someone out of that sort of thing, and we don't really have any data on it anyway, so Imma just let them rock. But I feel like I had something about the second thing too, but I forgot. So we can just
Sorry.
talk about Mark's 480 Pro take, which I mean,
Yeah.
I understand. Um, I think there are a few things behind it, not least that he doesn't really like a lot of bass, and the HD 480 Pro has a lot of bass, and it's not really high quality bass either. Like it's pretty
See, now we're just
smooth.
doing the anti-filter thing again, right? Like, do we actually know that he doesn't like a lot of bass?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I would say I know yours and Mark's tastes fairly well. I couldn't
I
really
think you do.
say
I think you
I
do.
couldn't say could characterize anyone else's taste that well.
Yeah.
Um, but I've spoken with you and him so much about headphones, and like I think I know yours better than his, frankly, but just because I have more data for you.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but yeah, he tends not to like a ton of bass in over-ear headphones or IMs, but he also just tends not to like over-ear headphones as much.
Yeah.
So his ceiling tends to be a bit lower, and he tends not to give out 5 stars for headphones ever. Actually, I don't know. Like maybe for something like really cheap, like with that's feature rich. Like I think he gave the EH11, like the FIO 5 stars, or maybe it was 4 stars.
Mhm.
But stuff like that is usually what gets him excited. For people asking, Mark is a super review. Uh, just saw someone asking about that in chat.
Dude, you know what? Looking at that, this is sort of an aside, but looking at the response of the, AR 9000, um,
On
there's a,
5128 or on your head, or what are we talking?
5128. Um, there's a sense in which if the FIO FT7 didn't have the weird driver matching issues, that it would be also kind of in the ballpark. I mean, like, it not quite, because it's not as elevated, I don't think.
Like it's
But it
not
just
as warm through the mids.
well, you mentioned FIO, right? And it's just sort of got me thinking about it. Because if I remember correctly, it also had a kind of relaxed ear gain. Like, it had the same
It does.
combinations, just a little bit less drastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it didn't
Um,
have as much bass and it had more 1K. So it
yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah.
two playing against each other was a little
Not as,
different.
yeah, 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 yeah. But still, like, I feel like that headphone sound signature was close.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
especially with the fabric pads, the
Yeah, yeah.
FT7,
That's what I
like
mean. Yeah.
if it just had more bass and wasn't as bright at like the tippy top, it probably would kind of fit that same AR9000 FR1
Yeah.
MV1 without the 6K type signature.
Yeah.
Uh Which is just like I really like that signature. I gotta say, obviously you haven't heard it yet, so I don't I don't this doesn't mean anything to you, but I've been thinking of FR1 basically every day since I've heard it, and I don't need to own it. Like I did measure it on my own head, and I 2 nights ago, for the first time EQ'd my HD 800 to that response I measured. And yeah, it sounds the same. So I don't need to own that headphone to get that sound. But man, that sound profile is legitimately awesome. And it is V shaped, but like good.
Matching 2 headphones with convolution.
I didn't even use convolution. I just kind of like,
Oh, okay. Eyeballed it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not that different from HD 800 in the treble, so it was pretty easy.
Okay.
Metal says, "Mark the embodiment of Moondrop S8." Very
Yeah.
true.
No, getting back to Mark Ryan's take there, I agree with you that I in the
It's not a
context
bad
of
take.
no, it's not a bad take. I actually think his sound descriptions matched mine. Like we
Yeah,
said basically the same things. He
a
just
little
wasn't as
dull,
positive.
a little
Yeah, like a bit
safe,
softer in the yeah.
boring.
Um and not as contrasty, right? And I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Where I would disagree is that I'm curious what you think about this, but the DT 900 Pro X was the preferable option.
Oh, he preferred that to it?
Yeah, yeah, which is an
That
open
was,
mic.
like, towards the very end of the
Yeah,
review, and I was kinda, like, eyes glazing
yeah.
over at that point. That's very interesting. Uh,
To me,
I mean,
that one, I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
okay."
that one I certainly don't agree, but, this is where I think, and this is what I wanted to get into as well, before we did the audio bubbles thing, was talking about something that, like, because it's been a long time since we've been on stream, so we haven't really talked about this at all, but, there was, like, a while where we were dipping into the water cooler thread every
Yeah,
now
there
and
was.
again,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Well,
and,
I mean, to be fair, summoned into the water cooler thread. I didn't in
to
my
an
case,
extent,
I in my case,
for
I was
you,
summoned. I don't know if you
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but, one of the things that we ended up talking about was not just, differences in hearing and, like, the acoustic response we get, but, like, differences in priorities, and not just, I want a V-shaped response or I want a neutral response, but I think there's, like, a core, hashtag philosophical, difference between someone like me or you versus someone who is in the water cooler thread buying $9,000 IEMs or headphones. And I think at the core of that difference is wanting to be reminded of your device. Like, I
Mhm,
think for
mhm.
you and I, we want as little separating us and the music as possible, both in terms of the sonic portrayal, like, we just want a direct connection, like, get it injected into my veins
Mhm.
sort of connection with the music, and we want the headphone itself to be minimally intrusive ergonomically, visually, like, we want it to be the clear drinking glass that Sean often talks about,
Yep,
right? Where it's,
yep.
like, so clear you can't even see it or feel it, right? Whereas the other person is, like, the exact opposite. Not only in that when they're listening to it, they want idiosyncrasies that remind them of what the headphone or IEM is committing to the music, but they also are fine with, like, really heavy cables or, like, really big shells or, like, a really flashy faceplate or shell design that,
Not just okay with, prefer, like,
yeah,
enjoy.
right, right, right. Like,
Yeah.
it reminds them that this is, like, a cool thing that they bought, that they like, it encourages them to use it. Um, Whereas something like those physical characteristics would make me never use it,
Mhm,
or something like those sound characteristics would, again, make me not wanna use it. Those are, like, that's the thing for them. Like,
mhm,
that's what they are chasing. And, we'll get into this a little bit later when we're talking about the bubbles, but I just think it's really hard to reconcile those, and we shouldn't act like that difference doesn't exist, and it's just about things of, like, an HBTF variation or, like, differences in
Oh,
preference
100%.
for,
I
like, tonal signatures or whatever. Like, there are core philosophical
yeah,
differences that will not be reconciled.
yeah. This reminds me of a conversation that I had with Dan Clark, not this past high-end show, but the year before, about how, he said it's when you're making a neutral headphone, anything that is slightly not neutral stands out so much more than if you're making an intentionally colored headphone.
It's a pretty common take,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's a good take, and this reminds me of that, where when we are focusing on making it as the sound as transparent as possible and to not be reminded of the device, um, I feel like for a lot of people, um, they've never had they never had the chance to have the experience of when that is good, because typically it ends up being kinda close in, maybe wideband,
But
but
when
there's
you're
enough.
close but not quite there, it's
Yeah,
either really boring and dull
yeah,
or, like, just sounds off in a way that's
yeah,
really hard to articulate, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
you wanna just stop
exactly.
listening to it.
Exactly, and, whereas something that, is reminding you of the device, as you put it, um, there's a lot more joy to be had there, I think, for all kinds of reasons. I'm the kind of person who can appreciate both, I think. Like, I actually can, and certainly, like, my journey in this space has led me to, over many years, the transparent glass preference and philosophical, view. Um but there was a time when I would have there would have been things that I would have really enjoyed about the thing, it reminding me of the device, right? The sound reminding me of the device, the everything else, right? Obviously, my big the thing is, my biggest complaint was always the weight of headphones. I couldn't stand how heavy. Like, LCD4 was exactly that for me. It was like, it's like, oh, the sound is fantastic in that sort of colored unique way, right? But it was so heavy that I couldn't deal with it. But for all the other aspects of a lot of these devices, I loved the feeling of, this is a nice, almost like treating the device itself as the art rather than the music it's intended to convey.
Yeah,
And and
yeah.
really, there's something to be said for that. I will say, I think, especially having gone through the process that we did now with getting our HRTF and the convolutions and all of that, something Cameron mentioned a while ago. Maybe it was in a call that we had, but where once that is achieved with the preference tilt that we enjoy, like, once that's fully dialed in, I feel like it's just such a level up of difference compared to the intentional colorations kinds of sound signatures, that, like, even though you can enjoy them, it's hard to really be able to appreciate them the same way, because it's almost like when everything kind of locks into place, that connection to the music just clicks in ways that it doesn't really any other time. And I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing this for so long that it's I'm the first person to admit that, like, I feel sometimes I am a little bit detached from the enjoyment of music, part of the whole thing, right? But when that locks into place and it really clicks, it all comes back, right? It's all there. And I don't maybe this is partially because of the novelty of that kind of experience, the, like, perfectly transparent experience. But I find it difficult to be able to, kind of hold up the other way of being able to appreciate these devices in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think both of us can get in the headspace either because a device is just doing this in a way that works, or because we feel like it's a necessity to do to evaluate the product how normal people would use it. I think either of us can put on the hat of a, for lack of a better term, technicalities enjoyer or a colorations enjoyer, depending on what sorts of colorations are there. Like I've been listening to this a lot since headphones.com just started
Is
getting
that
it
a
getting it
Alex?
in again. Yeah. Been listening to this a lot and I love this headphone. Even though yeah, like the mids are a little bit,
You can hear the colorations in it, right? Like,
yeah,
it's, like, obvious.
they're a little bit crunchy.
Yeah.
But I really like that. As far as mid-range colorations go, it's probably one of my favorite types or approaches to having a colored mid-range. Like I tend
Mhm,
not
mhm.
to like the whole muffled hi-fi man
Yeah.
thing very much, but this resonates with me in a way that I can really get down with.
Well, I was thinking of, like, if you go to the even more extreme examples, like a Stax, you know,
Well, I'm also finishing up my review of the Noble Onyx,
oh,
which is
right, yeah,
like
yeah.
way more colored than any
You
over-ear
I
headphone I have.
I like that headphone, or that
I no,
IEM.
I
Yes.
really enjoy this IEM,
Yeah.
and it's been a bit of a struggle to evaluate just because uh, the things I have to say about it do kind of stand in contrast to the way
Mhm,
it measures,
mhm.
um, which people will see once the review is finally out. But anyway, yeah, I think both of us are people who do enjoy colorations of certain types with certain music, but I do think for the most part, because we've done the things we've done, it's harder to like just hear a headphone for the first time, and if it doesn't immediately click with you, just start picking it apart to
I know exactly
shreds.
what you mean. I
And
know
like
exactly what you mean.
that's not charitable to the people who
No.
made the headphone, nor is it like something that's going to make people online happy generally.
And this gets
Uh,
to exactly your point about, like the philosophical difference in terms of how these things are appreciated. It's hard, like, uh, you can see where that disconnect is oftentimes, and it's sometimes difficult to like put yourself back in that headspace to not pick it apart for all the flaws that it has and just appreciate it the way that somebody who wants to be reminded of the device or think about the device, as you put it, is able to appreciate it. And so, like, really this description is it's more of like a diagnosis of the disconnect, and one that is worth um not being a dick about, I guess. you know
yeah. And I guess speaking of not being a dick, I think we should probably get into our topic,
yeah.
which is deconstructing the bubbles in audio. So you've often called them information silos.
Yes.
Um, and again, this was brought up by Oris in our Discord server,
Hmm.
friend of the channel, and he basically wanted us to talk about all of the different little segmented bubbles throughout the audio space. Obviously, there are too many for us to talk about all in one stream, but I did put them together and I did rank them in terms of I think
You have a tier list of audio
not no
styles?
no not in terms of like goodness or anything, but just in terms
Okay.
of like proximity that we actually have. So like
Oh, okay.
at the top of our list, we'll have like very good authority to speak on these bubbles, but like as we get lower down, we'll probably have less and less.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I see what you mean. We're not that familiar with some of
right,
these.
but
Okay.
also it's like a gradient of similarity as well. So
Mhm.
like the number one and number two will be more similar to each other
Okay.
than like
I'm
number
I'm
one and number
curious what you
six.
I'm curious if our number ones and number twos are the same.
Well,
My
well, the first one I was pretty vague, and I just said our bubble, right? Because I think
mm,
our bubble does extend to multiple platforms, and if we had to pick like one platform for it to kind of exist on, it probably would be Discord. Like it
yeah.
probably would be the more what you used to call core communities
Mhm. Mhm.
aspect of things. And I guess
I
if you had to describe like the philosophy, the level of understanding that kind of defines our bubble, like what would you say?
Depression and alcoholism.
Okay, not what I was looking for. Maybe
Uh
I should have prepped you for this. Uh,
No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Uh, I don't know, I mean, I tend to think that that eh, it's the similar kinds of folks who are I was gonna put Mark Ryan and his community, very close to ours, very adjacent. I think the people who are interested in those perspectives are they're interested in evidence-based information, to a certain extent, right? And understanding the why of it, connecting the dots, um, being able to identify value, wherever possible. And I think that that's where a lot of that overlap is. Whereas in a lot of other communities, it's not about value, um, or at least that's doesn't it's not a major component to it,
sure.
um, or it's not about evidence as much, or trying to understand why things are the way that they are. Like, even in science focused communities, oftentimes evidence is not the thing that is um, supported or, yeah, valued. Um, I mean, uh, we can talk about cargo cults, but I feel like the bigger thing there is like it. Oftentimes, people are not looking to understand what's going on. They're rather looking for confidence.
Mhm,
Um, and Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a naive way of saying, like, I when I look at Mark Ryan's uh, perspective and what he's interested in communicating, I see a lot of the things that I personally value, right?
mhm.
Um, like what is it that actually contributes to the experiences that we're having? Why are they the way that they are? Um, I don't know if the everybody in our communities has that same value system and perspective on it, but certainly I do. Um, and I hope that that is sufficiently communicated as it is from his platform. So,
Yeah, so I think a lot of that I agree with. It's interesting that you talk about Mark's server before you talk about our server. Um,
oh yeah, because Mark's because like I um maybe this is a bit telling, but like I don't actually hang out in our server all that much.
but you hang out in Mark's. That's
I hang
interesting.
well, I no, I mean, okay, this is funny. The only reason why is because I joined Mark's later, I think.
Mm. I
Um,
mean, yes, definitely.
well,
Yeah.
before because I was obviously at the beginning of when we started ours, and
Yeah,
I would have joined Mark's more recently, and so his is higher up on my list of
that
discords
makes
that
sense.
I'm in.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really it. Yeah,
No, so like I'll be the first to admit it. Like as far as public audio Discord servers, Mark's is probably like my number two in terms of how
yeah,
often I'm actually like in there chatting. I think my number one is still our Discord.
and Audio Sanity is the other one that I'm in. Um, wait, is it
Oh,
Audio Sanity?
are you in Audio Sanity one or two?
Two, I think.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's not a very active server, so
No,
I
but
don't
that's the one
hang in
that
there a ton, but
I'm not.
you are
I
in it.
gotta be honest. I'm not much of a Discord user.
You're
Like
not.
it's,
Yeah, no. I
I
mean,
don't.
I think anyone who's in the Discord space will know this.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was just interesting that you brought up Marx as like an example of kind of the values that you see in our audience because yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of, I mean, maybe just entirely overlap. Like I don't think there's many people out there who follow his content and that don't follow ours or vice versa.
Well, except for
Um,
the guy who said that I like V-shaped sound signatures only and hate mid-range.
that's clearly someone who is following our content and is paying very
True.
close attention.
No,
Um,
yeah, that's sad. No.
but I guess it's also interesting because I do perceive like slight differences, not necessarily with their value system, but like in how the two spaces orient themselves. Like our space is a lot more graph sniffer and a lot more like value, 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 whereas Marx is a lot more just like free discussion about all sorts of bullshit, which can be good, like can be great, frankly. Um,
Night Rise says autism, alcoholism, depression. Are are these familiar to you? You may be an audiophile. Oh my
maybe,
god.
yeah. Um,
Tummy issues.
yeah,
That's the tummy issues Discord.
but yeah, it's interesting that you link them because I do see them as mostly similar, but just with a few differences in terms of like how they're run and how conversation usually goes there. Um, and most of what you mentioned are like good qualities, but I feel like with the proximity I have, and I
Yeah,
say
but
this,
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. What can I say?
yeah, clearly, um, yes, there's much evidence to speak to this truth.
Yeah.
No, but I think there are some negative qualities as well that aren't like toxic or like disastrous or anything like that, but do also kind of speak to slight differences between them. Like again, I said our server is much more graph sniffery, and I think that's just true of our server versus either Marks or Crins, even though they do again culturally have a lot of overlap, and in terms
Oh,
of like
interesting.
recommended products have a lot of overlap. I think ours, if anything, is like the most advice hub type of place. Um, so I just think there tends to be more of a fixation on value and tangible explanatory tools like
Are you
measurements.
saying that like the graph sniffery bit is it's too much? It's an overconfidence in or over
Well, for some users, absolutely, but no,
yeah.
I more so just think that like the presence, the omnipresence of graphs in our server, in particularly, is mostly a function of wanting to bolster whatever advice you give with something tangible.
Mhm,
Um, and like, frankly, of the servers I'm in, that is easily the one that has the most traffic for like advice.
mhm.
Like new people coming in just asking for advice about headphones. So it kind of makes sense that that would be the case and that it would leak into the non-help chats as well. Um, but I do also think, and this is true of many communities, but unfortunately, it is also true of the Discord space. I just think a lot of it is tied up in authority. Like, as much
Yeah.
as we have uh, either been party to or witness to like certain authority figures kind of being dismantled and shoved down in the discourse. Now there are just a different set of authority figures that are kind of given unquestionable, not authority to do whatever they want, but like there's almost a phenomenon of people just like
Yeah.
being lemmings to to follow their opinion.
I mean, this is
And
this is just
using
like,
them as an example of like, well, someone says a headphone sucks, another person will say, "Oh, well, Resolve said it was great, so you must be wrong." Um,
certainly hope nobody's saying that.
oh no, plenty of people do, which
Oh,
is
that's a
which
shame.
is which is the yeah, it's a real problem, and
Uh,
like I think the people who are like deep uh, viewers of our content like are not the people who do that. It's more of like the casual kind of
mm.
just hanger outers.
Well, this kind of gets back to what I was talking about earlier, where like sentiment is this thing that people have such an easy time. Sentiment is the simple answer to the complex problem of audio, right? Where it's the simplest answer, right? Bad data and bad graphs is another simple answer, but it's like a one step further. um, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's just I see a lot of people get into arguments, and the quickest way to win the argument or feel like
Is
they're winning
the
the argument is to
authority game?
point to an authority who
Yep. And
supports their idea.
it's the same with SBAF, it's the same with Amir's stuff,
We'll get
it's the
there.
same with
We'll get
whoever,
there.
right?
Yeah.
It's and certainly like this is, man, so much of it is also like the job entails um doing your best
To become
uh
one.
yeah, and it's like that's the
Yeah.
worst. Like the last thing you want is, as we were just saying, is for people to just use you as an authority and not actually engage with the material and to
Yeah.
decide for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And
Like
just to think,
I don't think either of us wants to be an influencer.
no, fuck no.
But our job is to be
I
an
like if
influencer.
someone's like, "Oh, I
And
bought that thing because of you," my reaction is, "I'm truly sorry.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You shouldn't have. What have you done?"
Yeah. Like none of us got into this because we wanted to be
Yeah,
influencers. We just like talking about audio and
yeah,
we enjoy hearing products. But it is a shame that part of doing our job well does have
yeah.
the consequence of people treating us as influencers and, well, being influenced by us.
Well,
Um,
this is I go back to, I'm not sure if he's still in the chat, but Metal571 had a goal way back in the day that I think is incredibly admirable and what I've strived to do, and I think I'm continuing to strive to do, which is basically to remove the need for reviewers, or to
I
be a
remember
reviewer.
this. Yeah,
and
such a base take.
and and like, well, his, I think, commentary was something along the lines of like, this still needs to be expressed because it hasn't been solved, right? Like there are gaps between what the data shows and what the experience is, and that was back when we weren't talking about in situ variation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, like figuring out what those gaps are. Once they're solved, and once we can communicate this stuff without the need for sentiment at all, we're in a much better space than. And this might sound kind of like, I don't know, jaded and cynical, shockingly, because like I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I like those reviewers. They're entertaining content. I'm not saying the content should go away. I'm saying those authority games can go
Yeah.
away. The sort
We're
of,
saying like the first order effect of people
yeah,
taking that and warping it into a way to win internet arguments
yeah, 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 that can go away.
can
Uh,
and should go away.
yeah,
Like if there's information in the videos that, helps you like bolster your idea of how audio devices work or why something may work for you, that's a different story than saying, but they like this thing
hmm,
or
hmm,
but they say it's good or whatever.
yeah,
So that's probably the most disappointing aspect of like our bubble for me.
hmm,
Otherwise, I think in terms of what they value, what they kind of philosophically care about, is in alignment with us for the most part. So it tends to be very easy to discuss audio and parse out disagreements and all that stuff with this community.
hmm.
Um, So I do like that aspect about it. I just wish there was less of the authority games. So if we move to kind of like, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I think one of the reasons for the authority games is that anything that is evidence based and data focused and relies on graphs, especially if there's lots of graph sniffing going on, that's likely to also pull from the pool of people who would value the authority generated by this type of thing. So I can understand where it comes from, but it's unfortunate nonetheless.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move one level down to a sphere that I would say is fairly within our influence and
To,
fairly.
to be clear, you're not ranking them in terms of best communities. You're
No,
ranking
no,
them in
not at
terms of
all. Not at all.
proximity to
Just in terms of
proximity.
proximity to us
Okay.
and like similarity to one another.
Yeah.
So I think in something that'll surprise no one, our headphones would be, I think, like
Oh,
the next order down. That is like
next
not in
large
our.
community, because I like if you extend our community to be like Mark Ryan and maybe even Crin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like I again, this was not just our proximity, but like similarity. Like I think in terms of like the core Discord community and our headphones,
Yeah, I would agree.
it
I
used
would
to be
agree.
a lot more dissimilar, but over time they have kind of
Man.
converged to have very similar value systems, very similar approaches to
Yep.
understanding, unpacking both headphone sound as well as like content. Um,
There's
I
some
would,
really, high value contributions there. I have to give shout outs to Blaine for his contributions there. Constantine, of course, like Oratory 1990 for
yeah,
those who
I actually feel like I made a mistake not including his subreddit because actually his subreddit would probably be like right
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
between
yeah.
this and the Discord.
But he also
Um,
contributes massively on our
our headphones,
headphones.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
a ton.
Chocamel's, previous contributions. I'm not sure if he's as active anymore today, but like,
No, he has a life now,
yeah, good for him.
based.
But these are some extremely high signal contributions that
Yeah,
the
and in
has.
general, I just find it's kind of like our core communities where you can actually like show up in an our headphones thread and have a discussion about headphones, and it'll be pretty pleasant. Everyone will kind of be on the same page, and even if there's disagreement, it's had in good spirits.
Yeah,
And there's like a mutual understanding of like why that disagreement's occurring. It doesn't have to be something so vexing that we get upset about it.
yeah.
Um,
There is still a bit of hangover from. I don't know if this is the place where I see a lot of recommendations for things like the DT 990s and stuff like that. I don't know.
oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't
Um,
see it that often these days, but like I feel like it's important
not
to
not
note that
not
like
to say that
single
that.
users are not representative of the wider
No, no, no,
thing.
for
Like
sure.
there are still people that yeah I see recommend that or like the Philips
Yeah,
SHP
that's what I mean, right? Like
9500 or
stuff that
the
it's like it's no
HD
longer.
660 S2
Yeah,
over the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
600 650.
Dude,
Like
660 S2 is so popular on Reddit.
well yeah I mean and that's
You know,
valid.
I have a theory.
What?
Uh, so it's well, I think there's two things working in its favor. One is the price point is exactly the right kind of price that audience is like interested in spending money on a headphone. I
I
mean,
don't know
like
how much it is right now.
I also don't, but I think it's more expensive than the 600. Right?
Okay,
Like it's like
so it's like
the
400.
so like the something like that. Yeah. Well, actually, let me just double check. Uh, my initial assumption was like 500, but uh, oh no, it's more. It's 679. Okay, I could be wrong about that then.
Well,
Maybe when
hold
it's
on.
on sale.
I'm looking at it on Amazon, and
It-
there's only used.
yeah, I don't know. Anyways, my point
Is
was
it
more that this
discontinued?
was no, I don't think so. Um,
It's weird.
my point was that it's more this aspirational. It's at an aspirational price that's
Yes,
attractive for
agreed.
people who are like, I want to level up my headphone experience in a good way. It's not so out of, you know, the realm of possibility. It's not like, 14, $1,500, something ridiculous for most people. Um, that people can afford it. And also, um, it's the kind of sound signature that allows people to turn the volume up quite a bit louder. Like in essence, it
Yeah, it's kind of like
is.
an Odyssey with no bass extension.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like a darker 650 or like a 650 with
Yeah, I
warm
actually
warm
don't
pads.
hate like the 3 to 5
Yeah,
kilohertz
yeah,
dip.
yeah.
I just
Sure.
don't like the 5 kilohertz and 10
Yeah,
kilohertz
yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
the
And
mid
like
tones aren't as nice.
I
So
think I was actually more charitable than you were towards that headphone. Because I think you said it's basically a 5.8x
Yeah, no, they're
It's not.
very similar.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they are.
Skip. May as well go for the 58X. But like, I for me, it was more like I think there's a space on the shelf for a sound signature like this. I just don't think it's an upgrade over the 600 the way that we want it to be. Um, and I forget oh yeah. So no, my point was more that like I think it's the kind of sound signature that also is going to do well with that particular audience. Where for a lot of people, they really don't want the you know typical excess treble that you get with the whatever else is available around that price, hi-fi man sound signatures or anything
Mm.
else. And this seems like a good option for that. And then especially the ability to turn the volume up like crazy if you want to, right? So um
Not bad takes. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with anything you've said.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, anyway, so just bringing it back to our headphones, there are people who, single users that have those idiosyncrasies about them. But I think broadly as a community, it is very similar to like our own community, with the main differences, I think, being, and this is probably a benefit, if anything, less of the constant presence of certain authority figures, which gives people license to kind of like
Mm.
experiment and try their own like weird pet theories and stuff out.
And then Blaine
Um,
comes out of the woodwork and is like, nope, time invariant systems.
no, not even about that.
No, I'm saying that's how it started for me when I was having my own pet
Oh,
theories, like
right. Well, that
back
was
in like
justice. That was Blake. Like,
2017 or whatever it
well,
was, right?
well, back then Reddit was not like it is now. Like
Yeah,
Blaine needed to exist for Reddit to become what it is now
yeah,
and for
yeah.
it to improve.
No,
Um,
that was YouTube. I just mean like you get
oh,
like if so actually right now, I mean, there's probably people putting out various different things that are not exactly congruent with what you know is understood today, but
I mean,
they haven't come
maybe.
across whatever it is, and so they have no reason to really think about it like that.
I don't know. I
So
think I think if not a majority, a large percent of the user base on our headphones are people who follow our content. And for that reason, like I just think it is a very easy space to exist in as someone who is obviously familiar with our content. Um,
yeah, I mean,
and there are
but
certain good things about it that are not present on Discord due to the nature of it being a lot slower, like it not being as like immediate and reactionary, which is nice. It is more browsable, searchable as well.
mhm.
Um, but I feel like there is a lot more like long form posting on the
Yes,
subreddit, which is like
yes.
something I like a lot about
Mhm,
forums, but like I also really like the immediate chatness of Discord. So
mhm,
I tend to hang out there more, mostly because a lot of the like super long posts on subreddits aren't exactly like high signal.
mhm,
Like a lot of it is just someone kind of being confused and kind of just airing out all their confusion. But sometimes there are bangers.
mhm.
And you only really find those on Reddit, whereas like I don't really find any banger long form posts on Discord.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, Discord is like immediately it's gone somewhere else, and then Reddit has a little bit of not permanence, but a little bit of staying
A little
power,
bit
and
more.
then yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. I just wanted to note in the list, Peanut Jam says in the listening test for my master's thesis, people rated the DT 990 pretty high, very similar to 650, and then your crying face. But the data is not meant for a direct comparison, anyways. But this actually makes sense because what we know from the rest of the preference research that's congruent with that, I would say. Um, what counts for those types of studies, especially, is proportional bass and treble, right? And you can find proportional bass and treble there. I mean, like it would be a different story if it didn't if it was tipped too far one way or tipped too far the other way.
I think it's that, but I also think human HPTFs being so goddamn dark in the mid treble and
Oh
like
yeah.
DT990 and DT1990 both having a lot of energy basically right in that region means that even if, for example, you have a little bit excess 5 to 6K or a little bit excess 10 to 12K, like you're kind of getting an MV1 effect where if you're one of those people with really dark HPTFs in that mid treble band, typically,
Mhm.
you're getting that filled in a way you aren't with something like an HD 650. So an HD or so sorry, so a DT 990 is going to sound more like complete and like high res and like
It's gonna sound
honestly
like a
timbrally
D1.
correct in the treble, than something where you're getting like a peak
Yeah.
and then like a massive dip and then maybe another peak or no other peak. Um, so like I don't know. I there we need to make space for things like the DT90 and the
And it's funny because
DT1990 as like likable headphones.
you're wearing the MV1, which I have such a similar issue with, right? Where like we've
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
the
yeah.
on-head
You
data.
called it the DT990 of Sony
Yeah.
headphones or something like that.
No, 19 upgrade to the
Oh,
DT
990. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
upgrade. I forget which one it was an upgrade to. And I do feel
Yeah.
that way, but
Yeah.
it has the same problem on my head where it's just like, holy shit, that resonance is insane.
Yeah. Now, to be clear,
And
I think basically anyone who likes the DT990 would be better served with this just because
yeah.
it has better mids, better bass extension, better comfort. But like still has that treble. So if they want a lot of
Mhm.
treble, they can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. DT990 for me was genuinely painful to listen to. Yeah. I mean, many such cases, but like, for some people, they're gonna want that.
Yep.
Hold on. Apple Nino says, are you saying human head headphone measurements have an underestimated versus rigs? Rigs overestimate it. So rigs do not have the commonly occurring notch in like the 6 to 9 kilohertz region somewhere that often occurs on humans. Um,
But not all humans.
Certainly
When I
not
looked
all
at
humans, but a lot of them. Like
when I
enough
looked
to
at
where
the
like it would be defensible to like tune a headphone with more in that region.
have you seen Constantine's data on
Yeah.
yeah,
I've seen all of
basically
Constantine's data forever.
okay,
So
okay. The one I'm thinking about is basically the EEP results
for the open and
for
closed headphone and
yeah,
the
and the open one
5128 and Gross.
and the open ones fall kind of within the for the treble specifically, like, they kind of fall close enough to, like, the human results. The closed back ones, both Gross and 5 and 2 are just, like, way exaggerating. Now, that's not with the DFH or TF subtracted from it, but it's showing this the delta in terms of you know, the HPTF essentially, between the rigs and humans. The bigger, more interesting to me is, of course, non-HRTF related HPTF in those instances as well, because are we finding out that it's that the rigs are just like hearing it brighter than every person, and the answer is maybe. Maybe not every person, but most people, maybe
For certain headphone
for certain
designs, it is
designs, yeah,
likely that, for example, the 5128 is genuinely hearing it more
yeah,
brightly than most people.
yeah,
Um, but I say most as if like more than 50%. And I think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where I'm going to cut that. Like I don't want to make any assumptions beyond that, but it seems pretty clear from the available data that yeah, more than
See, to
50% is
me,
kind of a safe bet.
where I'm at with it right now is that so much of this seems to depend on the headphone design. It's like it just seems to be another example would be like the differences that we see between like a Grell OAE2 for rig versus EEP, and or rig DRP versus EEP for me. And then even the something like the AR9000 where it's like it's maybe it's because of the positioning of the driver, right, or something along. I assume it's something to do with that, where you're getting different interactions, different bouncing effects, different. Oh, what was the term that Constantine used for this? It was something to do with different acoustic impedance, but it's not the way that we think of acoustic impedance. I forget. Um, yeah, it just is different results compared to what the humans have. And then contrast that with something like this, where it's like the rig results, even though this is a close back, it's freaking extremely close. I was shocked at how close the
Oh,
AM
for
core is.
5128 and Gross, you mean?
DRP EEP was, I think I sent it to you. It only varies
Oh,
in the spots where we'd expect it to
in
vary.
the 8K band
Yeah, basically, I think
with the
maybe,
5128 having more.
yeah, I think maybe a little lower down as well, but like overall, it's extremely close. And this is a
Interesting.
close back. This is high acoustic impedance, so it's like, well, you know,
So to be clear,
yeah,
that's for you. You tend to align closer with 5128 than I
not always.
do.
It seems to depend on the
Well, no,
headphone.
always versus me.
Always
Like,
versus you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like
The
it's
other
it's a
thing,
difference in kind there, frankly. Like
yeah, the
5128's outer ear is just not close at all to mine.
yeah, the other thing, and this is I get into arguments with well, not arguments, discussions with Dan about this at shows. Dan seems to think that the 5128's treble is like bang on for at least his panel of testing.
I need to
Um,
look at his ears.
I don't think it's just him. I think it's like him and his employees and whoever else he's testing. Um, and he seems to think that that's actually a closer match. But then when I look at Constantine's data for a different type of design for a closed back headphone, again, this is where I think it's so much down to the headphone.
It is so
I'm
much
like,
down to the
I'm
head.
like, that doesn't look like it. Like quite frankly,
Yeah,
neither of
like
them look
I've
like they
not seen
aligned.
any, and I there are multiple sources of like comparing
Yeah,
HPTFs on humans to rigs, the rigs that we're talking about, like the 5128, and basically nothing supports what Dan is actually saying there, except his own listening tests. So I think it's fair to be a little bit skeptical.
but quite frankly,
Um,
with his designs, maybe that's true. Like maybe with his
I don't
headphones,
know,
it is
man.
like
I
that.
heard core and like it seems like he's barking up the wrong tree
Okay.
in that respect.
The other thing that was odd to me was the bass response on it. And we're getting off track here a little bit, but like it is, it's it, it's not behaving the way I would have expected based on the quirks that we know about.
In terms of leak,
In terms of, I need to still do this with with EEP on both Gross and with EEP on 5 and 2/8, and then also just test it on the Gross as well to see how much the bass is being overestimated on the Gross versus the 5 and 2/8. But it seems like the 5 and 2/8 is also like the 5 and 2/8 is overestimating bass response relative to me, and it's not showing that any difference for that low mid dip that you see with closed back headphones on the 5 and 2/8. Um, and I don't know why. And so I'm like, this just headphone design is the thing, not not rigs. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Constantine was going on about preferring the error of 711 flat plate systems.
Yeah, because he's able to put a fixed delta on 711 where you can't do that on a 5 and 2/8. So you can actually, so like 711 may overestimate the bass way more, like way more than the 5 and 2/8, but 711 doesn't have the timbre quirk that he's focused on with the low mids um, effect.
Yes, but
At least for that design of that
right.
headphone.
So that's what I'm saying. Like
At least for that one.
I think saying something like that implies that you've like exhaustively characterized how all closed back headphones behave on that system. When like
Yeah.
I think he's done some, but I don't think he's
I don't
done
know.
enough to conclude that it is like head
I
and shoulders better.
when I look at this stuff, I think to myself, okay, what's the zoomed out? What's the correct zoomed out analysis? Which would be,
Measure on
well,
human heads. Just
yeah,
ignore them
obviously,
both.
but like, without that, I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, I might prefer the pinna effects to try to be predictive of the from the Gross, right, the KB5010 or something like that. But I would definitely prefer the base results from a 5128, despite timbral quirks, because it's we're not, you know, homogenizing bass in high acoustic impedance situations. Anyway, let's that's off track.
Yeah. So actually, now that we've gotten so nerdy, I think it's time for the first big surprise. Because I think the next most similar community that is not Discord, not r/headphones, is actually ASR. And I'm not saying Amir specifically, but I think in terms of the philosophy and the value system and the concern with empirical evidence-based data conclusions, all of that stuff,
Mhm.
and just the way uh, discussion tends to actually happen on the platform, like uh, it tends to be quite polite between typical ASR users. It tends to be pretty much focused on things that they can point to either on a graph or a spec sheet. And it tends to be very focused on livability, on things that are not, technicalities or wow
Mhm.
factor,
Mhm.
or there's a lot of skepticism towards high priced items and a lot of vaunting, maybe even a little bit too much vaunting of inexpensive products. Um, but overall, I think in terms of their value system, they are very close to what like our bubble would be characterized as. The main difference is that, there are just a few people on ASR who see what we're doing as anti-science or
FUD, FUD peddlers.
uh, fear, uncertainty, and doubt for those who don't know what that means.
But
Um,
people should have fear, uncertainty, and doubt when it comes to
I mean,
measurement.
look, I think we both, yes, I think we would both say that if anything,
Uh,
there is too much certainty, too
yeah,
little fear, too little doubt. Um,
yeah. I
but
mean, I don't know. I get why you'd say that. Um, at the same time,
when you hear
v-
the other ones on the list, I think it'll make more sense why it's placed where it is.
well, I don't know, because I feel there is there are certain I'd say there are probably more similarities than there are differences, and weirdly, even the way that I like my value system when it comes to headphones themselves, not like evaluative value system, but like headphones and how I like to approach them is very similar even to Amir's, which is
Yeah,
to say that like you figure out, okay, how does this headphone perform in this condition? How can I make it maximally better with EQ? And that seems like I'm, yeah, fully on board with this, and I think
yeah.
everybody should do this. And that's how I use it, right? Um, like, yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of overlap. I don't know that I share your sort of good feeling about the community interactions there, though, because the these are the only places where people will do the whole "you didn't have that experience, I have a chart" bit, or
I
you are.
I actually think that's a little bit unfair because I see that on our headphones. I see that on our Discord
I don't see it
server.
as much. I also see the like very commonly the you didn't like this product because it wasn't or you preferred this other product over this one because this one is red. Like stuff like that
Based.
where it's like, okay, but we haven't even begun to talk about things like length mode resonances. Like, why is that your first assumption?
Yeah.
Um and the sort of uh, target cultism and evangelism, like, like it is a bit of a meme, but like y- you don't have to look far to see that there. And I feel like
Yes, yes.
it's
If we're
even
talking
though,
about things we would change or things that we would
yeah,
say don't agree with us personally, I think the evaluation of headphone sound or headphone measurements beginning and ending at the Harman target for a large segment, maybe not a majority, but for a large segment of ASR,
yeah.
I think is where we would absolutely disagree and where we would say that's
Well,
a problem.
I was having a conversation with Constantine about this. I'm not.
Uh-oh.
Why do you say uh-oh? Constantine is based, as people would say. Uh no, like I'm not as opposed to a Harmon checklist style of evaluative theory, right? If it actually considers, so like if it takes seriously the reality of non-HRTF related HPTF
So
variation.
so there's a reason I said when evaluation begins and ends at Harman
Yeah,
target,
but hear me out on
because
this,
if it
right?
begins there, that's probably the best place to start.
Yeah,
And, like, you don't
but
need to go further than that if you're
okay, but
just
right,
shitting
but
around.
hear me out on this. The For the longest time, and you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. For the longest time, people assumed that the headphone behavior would be more consistent. Would be That question didn't even enter people's minds about like the headphone behavior and consistency issues and variability problems, right? So if you have this massive body of research that says, like tune it to this target and it'll be good, and you have a industry standard headphone measurement system, and you do that, and it sounds better than whatever the shit response was before, you have good, compelling evidence to, move in that direction or like, go with that kind of evaluative standard.
Yeah, and I don't
But
think any of us would disagree that that's a better direction than having no direction.
then having no direction. But my point is more that like in light of some of the work from Fabian Brinkman, for example, right? Or just even what we've been showing and what we've been doing in our stuff. Um, you know, if if the response was instead, okay, well, in order for us to continue to be target cultists, let's all go purchase the Welty modified retrofit kit from Dan Clark. I'd be more okay with it. Like I'd actually think that this is Constantine actually disagrees, and he is
Yeah,
more.
I think his big issue there is that the ear canal is just not,
It's just not. Yeah, and fair.
you know,
Okay, like
he's right. Like
yeah,
he is correct.
yeah, yeah, and he is also in favor of the diffuse fields uh, approach, and I think we're all on the same page there. But like from if an outlet were to say, instead of what they're doing now, if they were to say massive body of headphone research done on this particular pinna, we're going to use this same system so that it's compatible, right? And then use this as the checklist, checklist style reviews. Like obviously, the issues that we would have with that methodologically notwithstanding, that's at least extremely useful. Um, and it would be less fraught with scrungle than I think the current approach is. It'd be more defensible. I put it that way. It'd be more defensible.
Yeah, it would be more defensible. We can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that would be kind of an asterisk on that approach. Like say, because I mean, you can just
No, no,
buy
no.
the older rig and use only like Harman 2015, which is
Yeah,
still
you
a very
could.
large body of data.
Oh,
But
wait, which is the one where they used the paint can on the?
that's 2018.
That's
That's the one
2018.
that's
Okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say, if you're doing the 2018 Welty modified Pinna stuff, you gotta get the paint can as well.
Well, I mean, there's if you want to take issue with that, you need to take issue with what we know about headphone behavior means the
Yeah,
results of the papers are only true about the headphone that was tested.
that was tested. That is
Right. So the
also
Harman
like a
2013 target
so
is only really
yeah.
usable with an
So
HD800. The 2015 target's only usable with an HD518.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the 2018 target is
The
only
KX7
usable with an
or the
AKG
H
K712 Pro
yeah,
with
yeah,
a paint can for a headband.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No paint can for a clamp
Paint can handle for
handle.
a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
headband adjustment.
Yeah. No, this is I mean, but I think that the bigger problem is always and this goes back to the issues with the platform. It's not actually to do with the the testing, the value system, or the methodology, though we could find asterisks with all of them, right? It's with the read of the data where people want to read the tea leaves when they shouldn't. They're wanting to sniff the graph in places and in ways that is just not appropriate.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
we both agree there.
yeah,
Yeah, but as someone who like didn't really use ASR a ton, maybe for the last few years. I used it a lot when I was first joining up in like 2020. Um, but then like as I became more familiar with what kind of information tended to come out of it, not even information, but what kind of discussion I guess tended to come out of it, I
yeah,
shied away from it more towards Discord and Reddit. And then recently I've gotten back into using ASR. I like it a lot, frankly.
hmm
It is there's just so much less bullshit and like there's less posts
well, you don't have to deal
broadly,
with the technicality
but
stuff as much.
yeah, you don't, and you don't have to deal with really like gatekeeping either. Like it's and it's nice and kind of refreshing to be in a place where I'm not treated as an authority figure, and I actually have to like uh, prove or provide evidence for the things I say.
Well, it's
I
just
find it makes my own posts better than
it's
they are on
entertaining.
Discord, where I'm mostly just fucking around these days. Um, so I do like that, and I feel like the standard for I guess burden of proof being high is one of the
hmm
better things about that space versus all the others, including the Discord servers, where it doesn't need to be as high if your cloud is high, which
hmm
I don't love.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny. I
what's up?
think SBAF called us the alternative ASR or something along those lines, like doing the ASR thing, but ASR adjacent or something like that. So like I can see the the overlaps, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Now I do think a lot of people like uh I would say incorrectly label us as ASR people, and certainly a lot of the prominent ASR people would not claim us.
no, they
But
outright reject us.
I do get why that happens. Like I
Yeah,
think
people who don't understand graphs will see that we use graphs and then put us in the same bucket.
well, I also think it's less about that. Well, no, I think it's certainly about that in many people's cases, but I think it's also about burden of proof. Like I think
Mm,
we have very high burdens of proof, and that is usually what we'll point to when people make outlandish claims, um, is kind of signal of quote unquote ASR behavior.
Mm.
Um,
ASR behavior.
yeah, of upholding ASR thought. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, I think we should move to the next one, and this is where I think we start to see a fair bit of divergence from what we would call like our value system or philosophy.
Mhm.
But the next most similar would be RIEMs.
Ooh,
Yeah.
really? I've
Compared to
seen
the
I've seen some
compared to the
I've seen
next
some madness on
ones
RIEMs, dude.
compared to the next ones down the list, yeah, I do
Uh,
think so.
okay.
So points in favor of RIEMs is that they do have some understanding of measurement data. It is more sporadic and like at a lower level than say our headphones.
Mhm.
Um, and there is more of a focus on just enjoyment for enjoyment's sake. Like there's a lot of um, there's a lot of talk about not caring so much about the measurements, not because the measurements are bad, but because they don't describe your experience, and you should focus on hearing things before you can evaluate them or caring too much what someone else says. And that's all good. Like that's the kind of thing that any community should have kind of at its bedrock is like, don't care too much about what other people say or think or what graphs say. Focus on what you hear and what you like, and that's all that matters. What's not so good about it is that I would say it's among the three where you start to see like the unverifiable technicalities focused this is good because the thing specific to me that like will not happen for you type
Mm.
type of discussion happens. um and I also think there's like a lot of negativity in that space. Like it is a very active space, and it is very um
You're a moderator there, right?
I am I wouldn't
Clearly
say.
biased.
I mean, it's third from the bottom of this list, which again is not a quality ranking. It is a like similarity and proximity to our
Yeah.
kind of value system list. But yeah, I don't moderate with a heavy hand there because there are certain aspects I like about the community that I think if I did have a heavier hand, it would become more like our Discord server where it's like a little bit more graph sniffy. And I don't think that's what it needs actually.
Mm.
I think what it needs is actually one to become less focused on purchase advice. Um, this is something I talked about when I was like first becoming a moderator there, and they explained their position, and I didn't want to fight on it, but um, they I did recommend us like basically taking all of the purchase advice and putting it into like a mega thread that refreshes weekly.
Mega
Um,
thread.
which I still think would be a good idea. They opt not to do that. So instead, basically every new thread is just purchase advice, which I
Mhm.
actually think is probably the worst thing about browsing that subreddit. There's just a lot of posts and no real permanence. It's almost like a Discord server in terms of how speedy it is, and how little like staying power any threads have.
Is it a
Um,
larger community than our headphones?
I doubt it's a larger community, but I think there are more new threads per day by like an
Right.
order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Because like
Maybe less overall, but like more
yeah,
commonly.
like our headphones has more than 1 million subscribers. I doubt RIEMs has like half that.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
But just IEMs is a fast growing enthusiast space.
very fast
So,
growing, very
mm.
active, but I think there's I don't know. There's quite a bit of acrimony and anger when it comes to some of the disagreements there. And I think the burden of proof is basically nothing, which is, a problem. Um, and it does mean that there's just a lot of like easily falsifiable claims made, things that can
Mhm.
be proven roundly incorrect if one were inclined to prove them wrong. But I don't know. I think the upside of that is that there's not a lot of authority games played. There's not a lot of graph sniffing overconfidently, and there's not a lot of this is good as a fixed like truth about that space. There's plenty of mushiness and
Yeah.
disagreement to be had about the quality of products, which
Wait,
I
is
think
this
is
true?
a good thing.
Faye says people love hating on Critical on that subreddit. Is that true?
On RIEMs,
Yeah, I assume that's what they're.
I would say that people don't love hating on Critical so much, but they love dunking on his brand
Oh, it's
for
because
having
his
like
brand is so mainstream now.
well, I think it's because there's a
Something that's
history of
slightly less
like
niche, it's suddenly it's mainstream.
well, no, I think it's that like with the Daybreak, for example, because it sold so many units and
Yeah.
used like a resin shell, people's nozzles were breaking or like faceplates were falling off.
Oh, okay.
It was his first like mass production run, so like stuff like that was bound to happen.
For some
Um,
people, at least.
yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, there was an issue of like anyone selling a gajillion units of something,
Hmm.
even if it's like a 1% failure rate, which is I would say
Yeah.
fine, average. If people decide to post on Reddit every time something fails, there's going to be a big uh, difference of visibility
At
for those issues versus a brand that is selling less.
at one point, I did like I mean, informal audit of like uh, the the times that certain brands had failure rates mentioned on Reddit, and I was trying to figure out like the point that I was trying to prove was that I think Hi-Fi Man um, and Focal would have had more reports of failure points, right? Because we know the like the headband.
Yeah, but we know that the discourse like is like
Yeah,
settled on those two being
on that.
the
So
worst ones for QC and
yeah, and then
returns. Like that.
I was surprised to see how much Sennheiser was also up there,
Yeah,
but then I realized it's because so many 6XXs have been sold, so many, so it's like there's a base rate problem here in terms of and like signal to noise issue, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
so
Yeah, it's a big issue. But so as far as like shitting on Critical in RIEMs, I don't think most people there love to do it or anything. I just think there have been a few cases where RIEMs is where someone will post about their daybreak breaking.
mhm.
Um, and then everyone will kind of dogpile and say, like, oh, this is unacceptable, which like, it's fair to get upset if you're the person whose daybreak broke, but I've never seen Critical rock up to one of these threads and do anything less than offer to fix the problem somehow. So
But he's clearly evil, that's how that,
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Okay,
so
what's
there are some good things about RIEMs, but definitely some not so good things as well. Things I would
dude,
change.
Oris, many focals were sent back working perfectly because they were uh criticized for having the clipping issue, but it's because somebody was either playing it at ridiculous volumes or more commonly were running it out of high output impedance devices. Like that's probably the largest culprit where they didn't realize that the response was changing and then it was reducing the volume threshold where it clipped. I don't know how many of them would actually be running them with EQs because I think a lot of people would just plug it in and be like, what the hell? What's this? Clearly a QC issue. The bigger problem was that it was designed in such a way where it clipped at 170 dB at 1 kilohertz.
Yeah, I mean, I've
But
never had
that's
that
not
issue,
that doesn't
but
mean it was faulty. It just means
yeah,
that that's how it's designed.
yeah, yeah. It's a shame, like that they've phased out this design does bum me out. Like,
I can send you a track that'll cause it to clip.
no, I'm sure you could. I mean, I'm sure I already have tracks that can make it clip if I
Yeah.
listen loud enough. But like, I actually just think like this is it's such a cool design, and like it's a pretty damn open baffle. Like you can
Yeah.
literally see through it, and it's a cool driver, and it sounds good, man. I feel like us getting or like headphones.com getting the right to sell LX and
Mhm.
then it not selling enough, so like it just getting like discontinued wholesale is probably the single story I am most upset about in headphones, like in my time being here, because LX
Mhm.
is like I would take it over like HD like 600 or D1 or MM500. Just like most of the open back headphones I
Mhm.
have, I would take an LX over it. So it's kind of a shame. But anyway, that's off track.
I didn't know that's why they were discontinuing it. I thought it was just the end of that platform. But
Well, look, I think if we sold a gajillion units, Focal would be more interested in undiscontinuing it, but I don't think that's.
Okay.
That's what
I
it
have no
that I don't
idea.
think that's what it ended up being when we
That's
sold things,
that's
so,
on the other side of the separation between church and state for me, so I don't
yeah.
I don't follow that side of it.
Yeah, I don't know exact numbers or anything like that, I just know it wasn't a gajillion units.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, next one down might be surprising, SBAF. So I think the biggest difference between SBAF and what I would call like our communities, well, the first biggest difference is testosterone. Um, like I just generally, and
Yeah,
probably like age.
we have way
Um,
more. That's the
that is not true. Um, for those who don't know, SBAF is Super Best Audio Friends, which is a another audio forum, kind of in the format of Audio Science Review and Headfi, but with a decidedly different slant to it. It is more focused on source gear, subjective evaluation. They do measurements as well, and like that is kind of
Oh my god, dude.
what brings them closer than the last space on this list,
It's
because
I
they
don't
do.
actually think that it's
No,
I
they
know
do measurements,
I
and not all of them are good. I would say most of them are bad, if
most
not
of
all of
them,
them.
all of them are I don't know that I've seen a single good one.
That's fair.
I don't know. Or at
But
least
they
it's like
do them, and they do put stock into the relevance of data. For
I gotta be honest, I haven't seen it in a long time, so maybe they have
There
moved
was
to
a
newer
thread not too long
methods.
ago that Cameron and I jumped into,
Okay.
where this guy was listening with some piece of shit gear. Shit, not an adjective. The name of the company. I think it was a DAC or something like that.
Mhm.
But every time he would listen to it, it would engage the protection and the amp would shut off, and he
Mm,
wasn't sure why. But if you look at an FT of the track he was listening to, which was Dawn Chorus by Tom York, great song. It has like DC in it. Like it has like bass approaching 0 hertz in it, which if
okay.
you feed that to certain DACs that don't have like input filtering on them to make sure that that isn't actually getting sent to any electrical circuits that could break by getting sent such a big waveform, or I guess a low frequency waveform. Um, yeah, it'll like clip, send it into protection, all that stuff. But like that's the kind of thing where like there's a lot of theorizing, but once you show them the actual data, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh,
Um,
so the outcome was that it was like, oh, that's the like
that's the reason. It had
yeah.
nothing to do really with the DAC being broken or
Oh,
anything. It
so
was just a
your adjacency with us. Oh, sorry, my dog is howling. With us is the
with
willingness
sufficient
to
evidence they can be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
convinced.
Willingness to accept to like accept a conjecture or accept a claim upon seeing evidence, right?
Yes,
Um, which
yes,
is good. I mean, so quite frankly, that SBAF is where I came from. I emerged into this space from
that is your
SBAF.
primordial
That
soup.
is yes, but back then it was maybe a very different space. Um, I genuinely have no idea how it is now. Primordial soup, yeah. Jesus, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, this is the second lowest on the list, so there, in most ways, it is just not similar to
mhm.
any of our communities or anything I would call part of our sphere of commonality or influence. Um, it is very authority based. It is often very aggressive when it comes to disagreements.
Mhm.
Um, there is basically no need to verify what you're saying or provide any evidence for what you're saying. It is a place of pure subjectivity, which
Well,
like isn't inherently bad,
it's
but
also a core space that's responsible for the time domain
a lot of
stuff.
yes, yes, yep, it is, which is a mark against it to be sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think in my interactions there, it has been weirdly low friction in a lot of scenarios because the burden of proof is so low.
Mhm.
If you show up as someone who speaks a reasonably similar language to them, and I don't know if you consciously do this or if you do this at all. Based on the community I'm interacting with, I will kind of code switch and make sure I am like
Hmm.
speaking in the language that actually
Stands a
will
chance
be
of
will
getting
be
through.
understood at
No.
minimum, if not agreed with.
I
Um,
do for Headfi, but that's because Headfi is a
it's necessary to do.
yeah.
Like there's no alternative.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but if you do that on SBAF, even just mildly, um,
Mhm,
people are usually less confrontational about you just having a take.
mhm.
Like, and that's people may disagree, but it's not like something where the moderators get involved and like shuffle you off to some reject forum or ban you or anything. Like, as long as you're not being an outright dick immediately, even if you have a fringe take or a theory or whatever, you can put that out there. And that's cool. Like, that's also what I like about like places like ASR. Like, not that they don't have a different standard for information and proof because it's way higher on ASR. But there are a lot of times when you can, for example, point at a measurement, have an opinion, and the measurement doesn't really explain your opinion or back it up in any way. But because the measurement is there, people are like, oh, okay, let's let this guy cook. Um,
That's
so,
that's
but
the
like, so,
like
I don't know.
most
Sometimes that's one of my favorite things to read is like some dude's like a
you know what though?
crackpot theory.
That's I mean, quite frankly, that's kind of what Tiles reviews were on
Yeah,
Stereophile. I mean, how
yeah,
people would engage with them too.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I miss that to a certain extent. So SBAF still has a place in my heart, and I do check it fairly often just to see if anything like interesting comes up. It's rare that I see like a conversation I actually want to engage in.
mhm.
Um, but I would say in terms of, and this is a lot mushier than any of the stuff I've said before this. In terms of taste, also, I just tend to find SBAF to be of better taste than a lot of like the other spaces. Um, just because they like dynamic driver headphones more than planars typically. So we stand. Um, but
That's
that's
big, but that's for different reasons though.
yeah. I mean, it's. I
They're
mean,
bio for the biodyna timbre.
Lord knows I don't even know the reasons. Like, yeah, I couldn't articulate them even if I tried. But
Yeah.
that has its own charm, I guess. But okay, that brings us to the last one, which I would say is like the most dissimilar to us, and that we like may have more frequency like engaging with, but I just think is like so diametrically opposed in terms of value system that it's hard to really be ourselves there and hard to
Mhm.
really like feel like part of that community. It's headfi.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I mean, you're talking about code switching earlier. It is true that you kind of have to
You
play the
have
game.
to. Like,
Yeah.
or you will be ferried to sound science in shackles.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%, and that has happened to me. Which is, I mean, I get it, and I don't. eh, there are certain moments where I wish that the mods wouldn't be so specific about that because I feel like a lot of those conversations are genuinely useful to people, and if everything is sort of relegated to the sound science dungeon, nobody actually has a occasion to engage with or even encounter some of the material that some of just the back and forth that's taking place on topics that could and ideally would be relevant to the people who are interested in those products. And it's like, well, there's a reason why nobody goes to the sound science forums there anyways, right? So it's like I feel like it's a shame, right? But there have been many occasions where this kind of stuff has been entire sections of threads have been yeeted from existence, and I felt like the dialogue in those yeeted bits have been genuinely um they have been off topic, like, to be clear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but they are genuinely interesting and things that things that other people have found useful, not just us, right? So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a
And
shame.
like in those instances when, for example, we are quote unquote filling up the Amanus thread with things that are not strictly about the Amanus,
Yeah,
you're getting more eyes on that thread during that period than when people are just
that's
posting
true.
on topic to the Amanus
I
thread.
But you know what I think it is? There's a pattern that happens with Headfi. Our content gets referenced. Our worldview gets criticized or our value system gets criticized, we get somebody says something about us that's just flat out wrong, or like we get misquoted or misinformation. Something is misattributed to us, and then we get pinged as a result of this, or summoned for whatever reason. We then correct the record on whatever that is, and then some people are willing to further engage on that topic, and then
In
this
good faith.
in good faith, and then this takes us into this trajectory of like, okay, well, let's this is the evidence, this is the why, this is the, all of these sorts of things. You'll always obviously have people who are like, most people would disagree with those, points, but they're at least interested in continuing the conversation. um and then eventually it gets either wholesale deleted by mods or rejected by, the sort of rest of the
Yeah.
community.
So the latter, being rejected by the community, I think would not be sufficient to say it is like the most inhospitable or dissimilar spot. I think it being a matter of like institutional policy that certain verifiable evidence-based discussion points cannot be talked about
Yeah.
out like in the majority of the site does make it like diametrically
Yep.
opposed to the
And that's not to
perspective
say,
that we share
that's not
in
to throw
most of the
shade at
communities that were higher on the list.
yeah, yeah. No, and I want to be clear that I would not personally throw shade at Warren or Jude or any of the people who are running the show there. Um because I think that they have done a lot for the community in terms of, especially in terms of things like can jams and having space for enthusiast discussion to take place.
Yeah, Jude also happens to be one of my favorite
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
and one of the
For sure.
smartest people in the space.
Exactly, exactly. I just feel that the way I see this is it's kind of like, we're talking about like specific silos, information silos, like the specific,
Bubbles.
yeah, enthusiast bubbles. And a core part of that, um, is based on the enthusiast part. And I think if you create a space that's, more, let's say, signal driven, it's inevitably going to run into some of the issues and take some of the issues that we see there now and take on a bit of a life of its own. Where now you have groups of people who are, I've called this before, the basically it's the suggestibility Olympics, right? Like it's the you know the same people who will advocate for, homeopathy and stuff like that, are and like I've had homeopathy advocated to me on Headfi.
Oh, like
So
actual homeopathy
actually this has taken place, yes.
base.
And that wasn't removed by a mod. So to me it's like, you know there's a little bit of, because of the makeup of the community, let's just put it that way, and the enthusiast, the way that
Yeah,
that
the
has sort of
moderation has to
propagated.
reflect and serve the
It's
community
exactly.
that it is
Yeah.
actually trying to cater to,
Yeah, yeah.
which makes sense. Like none of this doesn't make sense. Like
Mhm.
that's why it's very easy to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, it is very sensible, and it wouldn't make sense for them to stop doing what they're doing.
There is
Um,
also, I have to give a shout out to the folks who were there, who are just interested in sharing their experiences with the thing and
yeah,
talking about music that they like, because I do see that as well. And I see those
yeah, and if
people.
anything, places like the water cooler thread are specifically good for that.
I also feel bad. Like those people get increasingly frustrated whenever the conversation turns into arguments with us about frequency response in situ, HPTF variation, all this kind of stuff, which those people they don't give a shit about. That's not why they're there. And they don't care to learn about it. They're just like, this is so for them, it's like I understand. Like, you know, you're there for an entirely different purpose and you're not interested. And I have to one of my, let's say, most, I guess, longstanding opponents, interlocutors, person who's in opposition to my worldview there, has put it rather succinctly, which is that, we're interested in the why of it, and for many people they're not. They're just interested in the experience of it. I think that's true. That's one point where I very much agree with him.
It is both true and fair.
Yeah, yeah. But this is, it's funny because there's so with that said, there's definitely so much overconfidence in this, the concepts of, driver memes and driver narratives and all this, that takes place there, that it's actually influenced product development choices. It's influenced marketing. It's influenced, and I can point to specific examples where I would have had conversations with the engineers about this, and they would have their, quite frankly, amazing, um, reasoning behind why they did what they did to achieve the frequency response that they wanted to, only for marketing to come in and be like, well, we're not going to sell the product based on that story, so let's invent something about the driver and how the driver's
Yeah,
speed is, whatever, right?
yeah,
You probably know the one I'm thinking of. um
maybe.
and anyways, point being, like, it's influenced this space enough where it's taken it into a direction that is rather unfortunate, and um has resulted in further mystification and bullshit, right, quite frankly. um
Yeah, not that bullshit isn't fun for some people and that bullshit should entirely go away, but
I mean,
well, no, some people are here for the bullshit, and like I don't want to ruin their hobby, right?
so okay, but let me ask you this, right? Like, would it be a better space if, instead of people focusing on things that we know to be just like, okay, okay, the driver can still be an interesting part of your headphone purchasing and appreciation experience, without needing for it to just invent magical and mystical properties about it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's
yeah,
ways to do marketing that doesn't require just, you know,
yeah. Like so, for example, there's a lot of hesitance on the part of marketing to get complex with things, and I understand why. But I think in a tech sphere like this, audio companies would actually be well served to go into in their marketing, like, for example,
yeah,
what shifting breakup modes higher in
yes,
frequency does, which is a
100%.
big
Yes.
aspect of driver engineering, but, like, is never talked
That's
about in marketing unless you're Sennheiser, and even when Sennheiser talks about it, it's just like a little blurb, doesn't actually
Yep.
tell you much of
Well,
anything.
you know what it is. If you look at the, like, price points that products are released, that actually calibrates, that determines in many instances the type of marketing that is associated with
Oh,
it.
yeah,
The only
absolutely.
chance
Yeah.
that you'll see the, like, grounded marketing is, well, you might see
Under
it. Yeah,
$1,000.
but you might see it in a white paper, but that's never the highlight in the marketing material there,
Right.
right?
Right,
Because
right,
that isn't the thing that motivates the sales, right? Why is this special? Well, frequency response there's nothing special about that.
right.
To us there is, but, to the average person, that's not the special thing. It's special because it uses, you know, woven whatever for the I don't know, you know what I mean, right? Like,
Yeah, I know what you're getting at, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah. I think both of us obviously agree on basically anything we would say about this subject. My only point with it was that it is like a bubble that is the most different of any bubble I can identify, which is weird because I think in actuality, like people might think we have like a more acrimonious relationship with ASR or SBAF, like just because they're more contentious spaces, maybe.
Uh, I
But
have acrimonious relationships with specific people on those platforms.
yes.
I
Whereas I feel
don't.
like towards our value system, there is a hostility from maybe even a majority of HeadFi that I feel is
Yes,
palpable when I have to go onto HeadFi to say
but,
something and have to speak in a very specific version of my own language.
even even with that said, I don't know, there's something about, like, there's people on HeadFi who I do have them on ignore. Um, but that's just because they're doing the whole,
I
like,
never use those features.
yeah, I didn't used to, but there are a couple people I'm like, I can't be bothered to engage with this person because this is just ridiculous. But what I was going to say is, even the people who are, again, my biggest critics on HeadFi, I'm more happy to actually engage with them than I am those certain people on SBAF and ASR who I just view as rather despicable people. You know what I mean? Like,
Interesting.
I'm more likely to engage with, um uh, yeah, I don't know if I need to say their forum names, but, like, the people who, like, will outright, be like, here's you're wrong about this and blah blah blah, right? Like, and maybe it's because like I can put that. This is, I don't know if this is gonna sound the way that I mean it to, but like I can remember what it was like to have a similar kind of worldview, I guess. And I am a little bit more like empathetic or charitable to that. Also because I've probably had similar reactions, to that the information that I'm presenting them with when I've had conversations with Blaine for the first time, for example, right? Or Constantine, right? Where they're saying things that I can't wrap my head around how, like, I can't square that with my experience, right? They're saying things where I'm like, I don't know if I quite am able to like put those things together the way that they're intending them to. And it's only after like getting to do some of the stuff, like, well, quite frankly, it's through doing EQ really that I was able to get there. And I know that those people aren't, like, that's another barrier for so many people. So yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's maybe there's just a more like for some of these other people who I just would rather not engage with, I kind of feel like they should know better, and the problem isn't with their inexperience or inability. It's with their
Willingness to
obstinance.
engage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And with a lot of these people who are sort of more antagonistic to it, like I even had this thought of like I live not too far from one of them. Like this is a person who lives or in the same province that I do. In theory, I could go and visit this person and we could sit down and we could run these experiments. And I'm like, I'd kind of be up for that, like to sit down with this person because I know where they've gone wrong. I know where the confusion lies. And if I'm able to like sit down with them, figure out, okay, like how do we yeah, we could figure out what the problem is and then we can get past that. Learning can take place, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas in those other examples, I know that that's never going to happen.
Mhm.
Like there's people in this
Yeah.
space in certain communities that are too far gone where I'm just like it's they're past the point of no return, like, and it's like it's not about their, you know, lack of knowledge or anything like that. It's not about their, you know, misunderstanding of what's, I mean, maybe partly that, but
No,
that's not the core issue. The core issue
it's
is
the unwillingness to
the
engage, the
unwillingness.
unwillingness to, accept that there are parts there they may have missed or
Yeah.
not engaged with.
Mhm.
Um, and I do find that that sort of thing where the person is, like, the most resistant to having their mind changed when presented either with evidence, like on, for example, ASR,
Mhm.
or with a compelling enough argument, like on SBAF.
Mhm.
I just find HeadFi is complete not as a monolith, but, like, the engagements I have on HeadFi are often typified by a complete refusal to engage with in earnest, either the experiment we're talking about or
Oh, see, it's funny. You're
just the
saying
value system.
you see that more on HeadFi, and I'm
I
saying
do.
I see that more. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess I see it in all spaces, but I'm more likely to be charitable to the people who are like that on HeadFi, or not charitable, but like,
To
I don't know, not,
engage.
but also just like yeah, like I'd be willing to continue having a conversation with them, right? Because at the very least, if you can get a foot in the door to help, um, you know, help with some of the understanding, learning can take place. Whereas in some of these other instances, it's like learning is never going to take place here. I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is how I feel more often on HeadFi, and I think it's
Sure.
because if as soon as you post a measurement, you've lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas on ASR, yeah,
It's
that's
just
normal.
it's a handful of people who are like that on ASR, where it's the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
majority. It's the you know
yeah,
greater percentage on HeadFi.
yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Anyway, that's it for the bubbles. We've gone through the list. The only other card I have here is Fight Club. Do we have anything to fight
Well,
about?
I just had one other thing about the bubbles thing.
Sure.
I think this is also like we focus a little bit on these information silos, not because the reality of audio enthusiasm or headphone enthusiasm is actually represented by them. It's just that those are the silos that happen to have They're the clusters that have sort of congregated together. Whereas if you kind of take a step back and zoom out from all of this, the interest in this stuff is far greater than what those silos represent, right? All of them. And I think that's evidenced by what you see on YouTube, and what you see, like just people people being interested in.
Or as just brought up, what about the YouTube comment bubble? Just take the worst parts of every
So,
single bubble
so,
I've
so,
talked
so,
about.
but this is the thing: the YouTube comment bubble also isn't even it's not even an information silo at all. But it
Yeah,
does.
it
It's
can't be. You can't really share information on it.
yeah.
It's not a
It's
conducive
not.
forum to
Yeah.
that.
But I was talking more about like the just the YouTube audience in general, people YouTube audience, but also like the creator spaces. Like and we talk about Discord a lot, and those are the sort of siloed and fragmented bits. But it's like if you zoom out and just recognize that those people don't exist, isolated away from everything else, that they actually just are people who are passionate about how their music sounds and want to learn more about that or products that they might be interested in. I think it's actually a much bigger picture than a much bigger picture with a diverse, range of viewpoints and value systems than what the individual kind of like, this is my flag planted in the sand, would represent. Um, which isn't to say that flags shouldn't be planted. It's more just that sometimes it feels like we overfixate on or we fixate on the clusters that do exist, at the cost to the expense of the clusters of the bigger picture is all is where I'm at with it all, right? I mean, and this is one of the reasons why, like, the most based perspective on all of this was actually DMS's, which was, yeah, I don't engage with forums at all. Like, fuck the forums, just not participating. And I'm kind of there with it. Like I'm just like, it's I get the value in having permanence in community spaces and enthusiast spaces and all this kind of stuff, but it's like I never come away with it feeling like that was worth my time. Or
Yeah,
rarely, I
I
should
mean,
say.
I just disagree. I have moments like that all the time. And I
Yeah.
do tend to chase the spaces where at a given time period, I'm getting more of that feeling of like, oh, that was really worth the effort I spent to explain things, or like have a discussion. And like right now, I would say that place for me is actually ASR, um, where I'm getting like the most positive feedback of
Mhm.
like, this is a good discussion, or I feel like my contributions are not only being valued, but actually leading to people thinking differently about things, um, or myself thinking differently about things, which is good. Um, but usually it's Discord.
Mhm.
And it has been different servers throughout my time on Discord. I would say recently it has been Mark's Discord, but I think that's mostly because most of the people in our Discord already kind of agree with me.
Yeah.
So there's not much synthesis to happen from that dialectic.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, anyway, that's that bit. Do we have anything we disagree about for Fight Club?
Uh, do we have any recent disagreements? I mean, we have sort of like a general, like consistent disagreement in terms of taste and preference, and not as far as our worldview on audio. I think that's pretty
I think we're
pretty
pretty
aligned.
aligned on that.
But
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, uh,
So like I heard the AR 9000 and I'm not as enthusiastic about it as you are,
yeah.
but I'm still pretty enthusiastic about it, which
Well, you're not
I
as
mean I haven't done any content on it, but
enthusiastic because I imagine on your head that you're getting a lot more 10 kilohertz.
that's it. That's like the only
Yeah.
other issue I
You
see with
you
the
saw
head.
you saw the on head results for me, right? Like
Yeah, it looks fucking awesome. I'm
looks great.
jealous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I fully believe that that is like as good as you say it is on your head. You
Yeah.
have the evidence, and it is very clear. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, you haven't heard Flow's Tone FR1 yet.
No, I hope that's something I can try at the Shenzhen show if they're showing
I
up there,
should actually email them and ask if they're
because
going
that
to
would
be
be
there.
really
So
cool.
they just opened their like pre-order allotment thing,
Yeah,
and
you gonna drop $3,700 on
oh fuck no, no, I'm
it?
way too poor for that.
Yeah.
No, I'm saving for a Japan trip right now after the China trip. So
Yeah.
no, money only goes one place, and it's there. Um, and as I said earlier in the stream, I don't need to own one. I measured it on my head already, so I'm chilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But what about the technicalities?
They're better on the HD800S when you EQ to it. But like that's just because it's more open,
Yeah.
um, and more comfortable. So even though like the FR1 is genuinely very comfortable, like the headband system is like the H6 Air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but like
Good.
but it has clickies instead
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
hitting
yeah.
a button that you smoothly up
Yeah,
and down. It's just like a very thin rod up top, so it's
yeah.
you're
Now,
gonna
it's
you're
funny.
gonna like the headphone
So,
unless there's
s
something weird in the treble for you.
somebody is gonna clip that bit or, like, take out of context you saying the technicalities are better on the HD800.
I mean,
As cited as evidence
if we're
of,
talking about stock response, they're definitely not. Like the FR1 hits so much harder stock, and sounds
Yeah,
more like rich
but this
and
is okay, what
textured
do you
and
think is
chill.
okay, what do you think is worse? The tonal technical dichotomy, like, or people who, like, are like, "Oh, yeah, I never EQ," and, like, basically the head-fi, commentary on, all this kinda stuff, versus the people who think that, you know, they can get a persistent, immutable technicality and then EQ,
And it'll stay the
and
same.
it'll stay the same, yeah.
Sorry, what was the first thing again? Just not EQing at all?
The basically the people who are only interested in the technicalities, and they basically say, "I never EQ. I don't look at the graph. I just care about
I
random
think the
people's
first
opinions."
one is worse.
Versus the people who are like,
Yeah,
"I want
because
to get the most technical headphone regardless of its response because I'm going to EQ it anyways."
I think the second person, once they actually start EQing, will realize that the EQ does
Well,
change the
you
tech.
say that. The thing is, I wager the majority of the people who are tonal technical dichotomy pilled watching this right now believe that, right? I because they're based enough to EQ. But my point is more that there is a sense in which you can EQ a headphone and it does retain many characteristics about it if your adjustments are not so surgical that you're not affecting the ranges that are contributing to the positive or negative
Yeah.
experiences that you enjoy.
So I was just talking about this yesterday or 2 days ago. The reason why Odyssey headphones were so often
Yeah.
called, like, technical, to be used with EQ was because most people weren't touching anything above 10K.
Yep.
And for the other changes they were making, they were, like,
Or if they
clearing up
were, it
the
was wideband
mids.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, if you look at it versus, like, the Harman target, like, it was close enough there that most people weren't gonna
Yeah.
be touching that. They were gonna be bringing up the low treble, and they were gonna be scooping out the low mids,
Yep.
and guess what? That's not gonna take away any of the detail or the
Yep.
speed or the technicalities, so it
Yep.
just ended up that the way people were EQing those headphones and the restrictions that were put on them EQing it, not by themselves or, by having any sort of methodology about it, but just by, not touching that stuff. It
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this retains its planar plucked character.
But I think that can also lead you down some rather unfortunate purchasing decision pathways, where suddenly you're interested in headphones that have horrible responses because you get
Because
around
they're
going,
technical.
yeah,
Um,
like specifically the horrible responses,
I don't
and then you're
know.
just, I'm just going to change it anyways, and suddenly,
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the headphones that people talk about as being good for EQ, like the Odysseys or the HD800, like
yeah,
they are talked about that way, and they do have kind of scuffed tonal responses, less so the HD800, but I feel like that's still better than like, I don't know, buying an HD600 to EQ it. Like the HD600 obviously is a better tonal response outright, but I feel like the problems being less obvious makes it harder to EQ and get it
oh,
closer
oh,
to
that's
where you want it.
interesting. If it's less obvious, yeah,
Because like the
or
problems with an HD600 are not going to be screaming at you as much as like the low treble dip on an Odyssey headphone.
oh, I don't know, man. Oh, and a 600? Yes. Sorry.
Yeah,
On an
yeah,
800, no. 800, it's
yeah.
yeah,
I'm just saying like you posited the idea of like they're going for these scuffed headphones because they want to keep the technicalities for
yeah,
EQ.
dude. You know, okay.
Yeah.
I said earlier, I'm gonna walk something back. I don't know why this reminded me of this. I said earlier about how getting the perfectly matched in situ DFHRTF from the EEP data, right? Getting the perfect transparent glass experience is like the best experience and orders of magnitude better than you know hearing the device. Uh, there is an exception to that, and I don't know if it's because of the headphone, but every time that I've gone to one of the high-end shows, those Perun headphones are there.
Are they
Uh,
E-stats?
yeah, yeah, with the reel-to-reel tape setup. Were they at CanJam London by any
No
chance?
idea. If they
Okay.
were there, I didn't see them.
That is the only exception to this where I don't even know if that's good. I have no idea if those headphones are good. But it's an experience that's just so different, and I fully expect something weird is going on, but I don't care because it's great, you know? The only downside is it's just the reel to reel whatever they have for those records, right? For those
Yeah, and
recordings.
I mean, that reel-to-reel is
So,
absolutely committing tons of compression
it's
and
doing
different
stuff.
tone and
Yeah.
nonlinearity
Yeah,
to
yeah.
whatever it's playing. So,
Yeah.
there's that.
Yep.
Also, and this is something that I need to get more E-stats in to test, but when the other headphone from London, the Hongshu EH1 E-stat,
Mhm,
something I noticed about that headphone that, again, I haven't evaluated many E-stats, so I don't have enough basis to say, but the treble characteristics on my head are like, if you look at, like, all of the dynamics and planars I've measured on my head,
mhm,
they all basically align in the treble, like, they all have 5K peak, 8K dip,
mhm,
10K peak.
mhm,
This headphone just had, like, none of those features. It was very, very different, like, different
mm,
in kind from any other headphone I've measured. And
mm.
I wonder how much that has to do with, like, the novelty of the eStat presentation. Like, you're just getting potentially a completely different set of peaks and dips that is, like,
Because there's less
completely different than any
actual
other headphone you listen to.
and my brain immediately wonders about the why of that, which would maybe be something along the lines of the acoustic load interaction with the ear or the ear
I
load
mean,
not having the
it could be the fact that
well, if you're
the
not getting the ear
driver
load,
itself is significantly different in its assembly than, say, a planar with magnets interrupting its path, or a dynamic driver, which is a much smaller,
yeah.
um, point source versus, like, a flat plane. Um,
You get why I'd wonder that though. Like if
yeah, I
there's
mean,
no
it's a headphone that goes on your head
like
and
if you're
is
getting
interacting with the
interactions
same
with
external gain
yeah.
factors, so you would assume it would be somewhat similar, but
Yeah.
no, it was, like, very different. Um, and there are certain headphone designs where, like, it is just a very different thing. The original headphone, the
Yeah.
Hedda phone, was similar in that it,
Mm,
like, produced treble features that, like, were completely different than any other headphone I had experienced, and because of that, I really liked the headphone. Like, it had this really novel spatial timbral characteristic to it, and even a different dynamics characteristic. Um,
technicalities. We're
it had
back.
different technicalities.
We're back. Yep.
We're
All right.
back, he says.
Should we
Yeah, dive into chat?
yeah, I mean unless there's a Fight Club thing, I mean we
Yeah,
could do
not really.
okay. Let's do spicy takes.
Oh, I forgot the spicy
We don't yeah,
image. I mean,
or just if you guys have questions, it doesn't need to be spicy. It's just
I would like
yeah,
some spicy takes too if you guys have them, but yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to think if I have one recently. Um, I filmed a video that was the whole bit about like listen to the gear, not the music. Um,
Yeah.
I filmed a video that was that, and I never posted it.
Well, was it talking about, like, how we have to listen to the gear for us to do our jobs?
Yeah, so partially that, but also it was like giving advice about like if you really do care to basically the problem that I'm identifying is that most of the time people are predisposed to like the thing that they bought both because of purchase validation but also more importantly because music is just good, so you're just
Sure.
getting hit with whatever the I don't know if it's dopamine or serotonin or what, but like the happiness vibes,
The
and
validation cooties.
and you're not actually like scrutinizing or critically thinking about the thing
Yeah,
that you're using. And we have sort of trained ourselves up to do this, obviously. But most people, like the actual experience of buying a headphone and using it, often doesn't include that kind of scrutiny. And so my strategy for getting past that is to um, find tracks that you don't listen to for enjoyment and make those your test tracks. Like find tracks that are not like
yeah.
your, oh, I like this track. Like for me, it's Changed the World, Eric Clapton, right? And it's like maybe there was a time when I enjoyed that track, but I get zero enjoyment when I listen to that track. It's just for disqualifying bad headphones. Um, and I never posted that video because I felt people probably didn't want to hear listen to the gear, not the music.
I think it's a brave take to have. I think it's worth publishing. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I
Yeah,
could be completely wrong, but,
I mean, I neutered it a little bit, right? I tried to make it more palatable and accessible.
is
'Cause
it on the drive?
I don't know. I don't remember. It might be.
Okay.
Um,
I would like to
but
see it.
but the value in, I mean, it certainly wasn't finished, right? I didn't put actually that much time into it. I just, it's mainly because Ryan and I were brainstorming. I was like, I have an idea, and then I did that. I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I have a different idea, which I also didn't do. My other idea is this: preference is actually not as wide as people think.
I'm not sure I agree. We'll see.
I'm also not sure I agree, but that's what I want to explore.
Okay. All right.
So
It's worth
like
exploring.
you know, like
I know the
I
argument.
you know the argument. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the argument. Yeah,
Yeah.
with personalized measurements,
Well,
like,
well,
it
yes.
would narrow is what you're
Well,
conjecturing.
I'm conjecturing that like for certain segments it would narrow, right? Like
Yeah, fair.
because you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
say
yeah.
that like Taryn is going to prefer the same thing that Mark Ryan is going to prefer
Yeah,
once.
people who are interested in accurate reproduction are going to narrow. The
Yeah.
degenerates will
It's,
do the
it's
degenerate thing.
cranial monolith buyers are not applicable to this.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that could be interesting.
yeah.
Just
Um,
getting into chat here. Regarding the flows tone, do you guys think good stock sound is ever worth paying thousands for? Is there any advantage over, for example, an MV1 plus sensible EQ as a starting point for personalization?
sensible EQ done by you, or like what's the maybe.
Maybe he said generic, so actually maybe something like a profile out there.
But no,
Um,
but if I take the so disregarding the second part of that, the first part of that, like
is good
buying
stock
based
sound
on,
ever worth paying
yeah,
thousands for?
and thousands maybe.
I would say no unless you're a specific type of consumer that's shopping in
Du-
that range. The people
or
shopping in that range tend to think it is worth paying thousands
well,
for.
or but I'm imagining a scenario where you just EQ is too inconvenient for you, right? Like
Yeah. Or you just
then
don't wanna do it.
sure, yeah, yeah. But even then, like so much of this, like we're very focused on like EQ and personalization and getting the perfect sound. If you look at the ranking list, I know people are combative with the ranking list because they don't like that the best headphones in the world cap out at like 7 out of 10, and that's obviously because the missing piece is the personalization bit. But it's like a genuine 7 out of 10 experience with your music is still fucking great. And so, is it worth paying thousands of dollars for that? If that's what gets you there, you know, I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, and, like, I can't so this was regarding the flows tone. Like, I can't rank that headphone because I don't have it at home. I only heard it on a show floor, etcetera, etcetera. But, like, if I were to have that headphone at home, it might be the first headphone I give an 8 out of 10 to.
There you go.
Um, and, like, an 8 out of 10 for something that you just buy, that you don't do anything to. You just buy
It's
it,
crazy.
plug it in, and listen to it,
It's crazy.
is frankly kind of insane.
Yeah.
And, like, given what we know about headphone variation in human anatomy, if most people are getting an 8 out of 10, that is a marvel. Like, that is
Well, and they can't you do things
crazy.
where you can adjust
They
the.
have, yeah, they have
So
included filters, and
yeah.
even putting that aside, like, just something that gets to a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 stock for
Mhm.
like a wide group of people is a massive accomplishment that any headphone engineer should be proud of.
Yeah.
We just as a community are uh, obsessed with things being the best. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think just broadly as a community, we don't really know where the ceiling is, or we're not all in agreement of where the
Mhm.
ceiling is, at least. And I think it's especially problematic in the head-fi area, just because like not having a firm ceiling and knowing where that ceiling is means that the ceiling just keeps creeping up, both in terms of price and in terms of like, oh, this DAP just came out and it's better than that DAP. oh,
Yeah.
but in 1 year, another DAP from the same company is going to come out and be better than that. I cannot help but be extremely skeptical about new things being better than old things.
Well, you say
Where
that.
what do you mean?
Oh, or you're just saying that this in the context of the flows tone.
Well, no, I'm saying in the context of the audio markets that I don't really relate too much. So like the source gear market,
Mm.
and the very expensive IEM market, like there is this constant story of every year something better coming out. And yes, it's more expensive, but it's better. I have like never seen that actually happen anywhere in audio where like the new thing is always better.
Always no, but sometimes, like,
It's extremely rare when it's better. Like
I
I
mean,
don't know that I've ever actually seen a new headphone be better since like a new iteration from the same company, I should say.
oh, from the same company.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Um,
Sorry, I thought you meant like I'm like, I'm pretty sure that like in the last like year, we've seen quite a bit of improvement in both
no,
IEMs
I'm
and
talking
headphones.
about how like every year there's like a new Astle and Kern DAP
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're
that
saying.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is more
In that side of
expensive
things.
and is supposed to sound better, or like every year there's a
Yeah,
new Mistacraft IEM that is like more
yeah.
expensive, must be better. In headphones, I'm not sure I've seen something like that since the HD 650 was better than the HD 600.
Even though it wasn't.
Copeseed malt, but like
No, but I mean, like, hey, look, like the
maybe no, actually maybe the clear being better than the Illyr is the last time.
AR 9000 is better than the AR 5000.
I haven't heard either of them. Oh no, sorry, I've heard AR 9000. I haven't heard AR 5000. But AR 5000 no longer exists because AR 5000 Mark II came out, which looks worse.
Just gonna tease people with
Is that AR 3000? You fucker.
the, but
I want one so bad.
yeah, um, I can't talk about unreleased products.
Yeah, but just like the linear upgrade internal to brands has like never been true for me, and there is a segment of the community that treats that as like
Internal to brands, I get what.
uncontroversially
Yeah,
true, like
yeah.
just what is true.
I don't know. I don't think they're
It's interesting.
necessarily worse. But it's a bit more scattershot. Like sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. I mean, I can certainly think of a number of examples where it's worse. Usually the Mark twos of whatever are worse.
Yeah. That user steak sauce has a follow up. Can a really
Okay.
good generic EQ also get most people to 8 out of 10?
No.
I would say 7 out of 10 is
Depends on the
probably more
headphone.
realistic. Um, so I think the question there is, can a single tuning get people to 8 out of 10? Because like realistically, it's the same thing. It's just choosing a bass frequency response that, regardless of how HPTF variation is going to fuck it, and HRTF variation and
Well,
preference is going to fuck it, can there still be agreement? And I think there can. I'm just not sure it would be 8 out of 10 experiences. It could maybe be 7 out of 10.
I think it depends on the person and it depends on the headphone. Like, so for example, for me with an IEM, that's basically never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And like the best I could get is, yeah, 7 or maybe even a 6. Right. Um, but for some people, with small ear canals, maybe, um, they could, right? And with headphones, I think it's probably similar. Where if you're somebody like Griffin and most headphones give you that 10K spike, it'd be pretty challenging for a generic EQ profile to be surgical enough to fix that. Unless there's one that I'm not aware of that is like specifically the.
The thing is, it depends what you target. Because if you target an average human response, it would actually work really well for me.
Oh,
But
okay.
if you were to
I
target
was thinking
like
like Harmon or
right,
yeah,
like if you're targeting Harmon,
yeah,
not so much.
yeah. Okay.
Um, I see a pepper in chat. Oh, it's Faye. Never mind. Um,
Disqualified.
yeah.
Sorry, bud.
No, a headphone with well-implemented EQ profiles like Basshead, Harman 2018, 10 decibel DF slope would be ideal for newbies in the hobby. It promotes EQ while making it more accessible to newbies, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think any of us would disagree that like a headphone with well-implemented EQ profiles would be a great starting point. Like,
Yeah, I think
that's not a spicy take, Faye. I should have ignored this.
that's your fault.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything spicy about that. Um, there's not.
No.
There's something to the idea of like, you know how like brands are often hesitant to put parametric EQ in their like wireless devices because they think that it's too confusing um for
So
people, and
that's
then
true of Apple. I feel like for every other brand, it's more of a question of do we want to spend the extra for the chips that allow us to
well,
do this?
yeah, sure, but I
Because
think
they think most people won't care about it.
and they're probably not wrong. My point is
Depends on their
more,
market.
yeah, but so for example, Sennheiser, right? If there was a if there was a brand to put parametric EQ in all their wireless devices, it should be the audiophile brand, which is Sennheiser, right? I mean, as far as consumer audio is concerned, right? Um, and they did in the HDB 630, of course, and that's the product that the audio that us, you know, graph sniffing losers will celebrate. They didn't put it in their Momentum 5, and part of the reasoning I have to imagine is because, I mean, yeah, I mean, they told me it was built from the ground up, you know, without parametric EQ in mind, whereas with the HV 630 was. So it wasn't something that they just like deactivated in it, you know, just to be a dick about it,
Yeah, they use
or
different
like,
chips.
yeah. But the point there is more that they felt that, you know, they were targeting different market segments with this. And my kind of counterpoint to, like, I think they're right, to be clear. Like, I think their audience for the Momentum 5 is not going to care about that. And the product that they delivered to for the Momentum 5 for that market is the correct product. It's the one that's better at ANC. It's got the replaceable battery, that type of stuff. Um, but my point is more along the lines of like, if you it's not just a matter of giving people the tools, like, you know, build it and they will come. It's if you give people the tools the right way, they will learn so much more about sound quality and their own preferences. And Sennheiser is almost there with that because they do have some of this implemented where, you know, you can kind of, you know, test it while you're listening to music, and you can do the little, you know, it's bare bones,
A/B
it's
test.
basic, but you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying, right? So more of that kind of thing, I think, with something like parametric EQ, I think could work really well at helping people really identify their own preferences for starters, but also understand the value of EQ, right? That's the biggest gap that I think for a lot of people, and it's kind of one of the things that I'm working on. I was showing you earlier, Griffin, the
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
So it's like people don't understand how different frequency ranges, like elevations and recessions, impact what they're hearing, or combinations. Right, that's the
Yeah.
far more advanced one.
How they can
Um,
impact every single thing that they swear is not an aspect of
I
technicalities.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So giving people some sort of familiarity or reason to encounter that, I guess, is my point. Reason to engage with that would be a extremely valuable thing. And I haven't yet seen, because right now manufacturers are trying to target they're trying to solve for how do we sell more X, whatever, not how do we help people ultimately have better experiences. And that latter bit, I mean, I don't know how you, I don't know how the thinking shifts to that organically. You know, I think it requires a little bit of like mandated from on high to do it that way.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Steak
Okay,
Sauce
yeah,
he was just
thank you.
asking if headphone tuning is generic by nature, what's the difference between that and generic EQ? And I mean, there's a that I kind of did address it when I reduced it down to just can a single headphone tuning satisfy everyone to 8 out of 10 level? Because like there isn't
Oh,
really a functional difference between the two.
but like to the question of is headphone tuning generic by nature? Is that like our manufacturers targeting a generic HRTF rather than a
Oh
specific
no, I
gain?
think he's using generic insofar as like it's one thing that gets put in every product, and then that every product goes to people, and that's just
Okay,
the tuning of the product.
okay,
It's just one sound profile basically that
yeah,
then taken and run with by everyone's heads and ears and stuff like that. At least that's
yeah,
how I took it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Steak Sauce.
yeah. Because I mean, the other way to read that, um, my answer would be like it depends on the price. Because if you
That's
look at,
fair.
you know, high end stuff, it's usually a little bit more specific,
Yeah.
which is fine. But okay, if more audiophiles had the task of creating media that sounds great in as many devices as possible, 80% of the misconceptions in headphones would vanish off the surface of the earth. You mean
It
like
would depend what content, but if we're talking like music, like yeah, if
yeah, like
anyone if they were forced to use EQ like for making their money in the world and making content that makes them money, then yeah,
yeah.
they would know real quick how much EQ or frequency response matters and how much it contributes to every aspect of quality when it comes to sound in media.
Um, just a quick shout out to Capra. I'm not sure you did this already.
No, we did not. I was going to save it
Okay.
for the end.
Okay. Well, yeah, we could do that too. But shout out to
Yeah, I mean
Capra.
we're basically
We have to,
at the
yeah,
end. We've been doing this like 2.5 hours at this point.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so for those who don't know, I assume most of you do because you're watching this channel and we've done a community post about it. But Brian from Capper Audio and his family were heavily affected by the flooding in West Virginia a week or two ago. They were trapped in their house. They tried to evacuate and were unable to. They had to evacuate their whole family and their pets up to the second floor, and they had to be rescued by boats because the flooding was so bad it had almost entirely flooded the first floor of their home. It entirely flooded their basement. Both of their cars were completely flooded. Their garage completely flooded. So there is a GoFundMe. If I could call on the community to grab a link to that, I can try to find it. But I know Doug did a video about it. DMS did a video about it. Audio Amigo did a video about it. B Media did a TikTok about it. Okay, I found the link. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in chat and pin it. Okay, so that has been pinned. If any of you guys can donate, if you haven't already, we're trying to make sure Brian can afford to rebuild his life, get a new car for his family, figure out whatever he needs to figure out with his home, which, yeah, I'm not totally up to date on where that is. But yeah, if you can support him, he supports me all the time.
So it's
He's
a,
a good guy.
it's a good thing you had to poop, Brian.
Yeah. But yeah, so like this headphone, like if you're not familiar with his products, he makes straps, and they are for me an essential. I have it on every headphone I use regularly. So I have it on my XV. I have it on my headphone D1. I have it on my MM500 right here. See, that's not the stock stinky strap. And then this is I have a V1 Capra strap. These are the first Capra straps that were ever in anyone's hands that aren't Brian. His first strap is for the HD6 series, and he brought these to our
Is that the one
Airbnb.
that you sent to me when you sent me that headphone?
Probably, yeah. This one is
Yeah,
like really raggedy looking and like
with the little
rough.
things on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like again, this was the first version that he ever let anyone use or take home. So yeah, he's made my life immeasurably better.
You know what we had
Just
to
because
use
my
before
headphones are
Capra
comfortable
straps?
now.
We had to use a
Lobe
thing.
straps or
Lobe.
ZMF Copilot pads.
Lobe straps. I used to own one for, I can't remember what headphone. It was probably an Odyssey of some kind, because he made them for Odysseys initially. And I remember
Yeah, yeah.
they came from Thailand, I think.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
They
I remember I
manufacture
waited
stuff.
like over a month for the shipping of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, look, and something like that would like add more weight, is less comfortable,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
jankier to install, especially on the Odysseys where I think the
It's
Capra
just a piece
strap
of
is pretty
leather, right?
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
but the Capra strap, like the like texture, this
yeah.
webbing thing is actually so goddamn helpful for like the actual comfort of the headphone. Like I find it allows it to conform on like the front to back like curvature axis
Hmm.
and really get the full shape of your head on there. So yeah, enough glaze. Please support Brian and his family in their time of need if you can.
Yeah, and I think that should probably do it for the live stream. Let's
Sounds good.
just
Yeah.
anything else? I think we're pretty much done.
No, I think we're
Thanks
good. It was
to
nice to do this again.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
So appreciate everybody who came to hang out. Always nice, and look forward to chatting again with everybody the next one.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Look out for Andrew's video tomorrow on the Moondrop pudding.
Pudding. S tier. S tier.
That'll be fun. All right, later,
Okay.
guys.